Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Tier 2 Talk on Retro, of course, drawn by Dweg. This time with two very special guests. It is Frog and Zerpherr. All of us common theme. We've worked in the Academy Leagues, and I guess that's the spin that we're taking today. First and foremost, how are you both doing, gents?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
I complain, sure nobody'd listen to you anyway if you did. So, yeah, pretty good.
All right. I think we can just jump straight into things, hey, and we can start talking about some Counter-Strike. See how things basically draw on. This is a very local event. It feels like. I think for the first one is obviously the youth, and then we can talk a lot about the UKCS side of things, sort of in the middle of the show, and maybe a little bit towards the end as well. WePlay Academy League. A lot of debate, I feel like, this season more than any other to set the scenes maybe for those at home that didn't see how the event went. Malzahn XT, four-time champions, didn't make it out the group stage, and so we were going to get our first ever new winner other than Malzahn XT, right? It was, of course, Fnatic Rising that took the trophy, and they took home a fair chunk of change with that. I know, Jack, you casted a fair bit. Frog, obviously, you probably watched a lot of it as well. Me and Josh definitely would have watched some of it here and there. During the player break, it was nice to at least have a little bit of Counter-Strike going on. What do we think? I think we can start with the group stage.
Let's start with Frog, actually. I mean,
Yeah,
did you have many content pieces planned for Malzahn XT? Maybe we start there.
I did not. We kept it pretty easy this season. Just wanted to try to interview someone from every team. Just
Okay.
do a bit of content. But I don't know. When I spoke to MHL, I could tell something was off. I mean, given they already played a few matches by that point, but like I don't know. It's just the attitude was different from what I'd seen of him in the past, and I think it was just like just the vibe wasn't there, right? When I think Malzahn XT, I'm just thinking five guys having a blast, just kind of like being professional, of course, but like whenever you listen to the team comps and stuff like that, they're always just super happy, always kind of making jokes and stuff like that, and it just wasn't there this season, and I can't really say why. I have no idea, but I don't know. It was just like a completely different look from them.
Jack, did you cast many of their games?
I casted a fair few, yeah. I mean, myself and Ted, we were looking at them, and first of all, we could just see that in the first few games they played all right. They played pretty decent. But I remember saying it to Ted, I was like, I don't think these go through. Not like I didn't know that they wouldn't make it past the group stage. I was like, maybe we're seeing a little bit of Malzahn NXT getting a little bit iffy. I don't know why that was, but when they were winning, it was all fun and games. It was all smiles, as you would expect. But usually when Malzahn NXT start losing, they have this little bit of grit in them that they kind of just battle back and they can dig out results, and that just was not there. Now, for whatever reason, I'm not too sure, but yeah, it was very, very surprising, to be honest, because for the most part, it was literally just like MHL. It was his show or it was no show.
Yeah, I'd say in the games I looked at, especially last season, felt like Shane and Shuey were doing really well. Like those two Polish riflers, always being consistent, always putting up good numbers. Shuey had a bit of a shocker. He really did not play up to the standard that I remember from him last season, and I think Shane as well. It felt very average. And when you are a team that probably goes back to back, winning everything, you can't be average. And I think I even saw a tweet at the time. Maybe you guys can correct me or not, but they were even saying that they had to have somebody else lose for there to be a chance. I mean, even when that comes into the situation where it depends on other entities whether you're going to get out of groups or not, that just tells me this was a poor showing.
Yeah,
For sure.
I mean, like, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was, to be honest, but it definitely wasn't the Malzahn NXT of the past. To be honest, I am kind of a little bit happy that we did get to see a new winner, because it kind of built up the suspense a little bit more. Who is it going to be? For sure, man, I thought it was going to be Big. I was looking at that and saying Big were absolutely steamrolling everyone. I mean, they were smashing teams left and right. And then, I don't know, they just fell apart when it got to the best of threes. But yeah, Shuey didn't play that well. I mean, Shane had his moments here and there, and usually they are like really, really solid. But I don't know. I just wonder, is Yimfa like, is he one of the best fits for that team? To be honest, I think he needs to be in a more like star position. Then I think he's wasted because he is playing a lot of the anchor roles as well. So I don't know. I don't think that five is the perfect fit for Mayor's NXT, but. I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't there this season. Wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Any teams that caught your eye, Frog? Maybe in Group A?
I mean, from the get-go, Team Spirit was my dark horse. Just because like last season, started off pretty average. Like any other team really. It was Mao's NXT's show, but towards the end of last season, Spirit actually started looking really, really, really strong. And that was with Art Frost getting much more comfortable on the op and just in the league in general. It felt like he finally kind of found his groove. And I got to see them play with Owner a little bit and some other online event ahead of Academy League. And I was like, okay, this was the piece they were missing, right? Like Owner came in as an IGL, which he didn't do in the past, so that was a bit of a surprise. But he came in as an IGL and kind of gave them a new look. It was a little shaky to start off again, I feel, but really, like as they got going, much like last season, they just kept getting better and better, and they kept playing these like games going into overtime, super super close, but the mentality was there, sort of like Mao's NXT of the past, where they're just able to mount those comebacks. So yeah, they were just my dark horse. I think Big were probably still the favorites once Mouse were eliminated, just because of how well they've done and just the name power on that lineup. And well, Fnatic also looked pretty good, especially since last season with Maze coming in. So it was between those three for me. I was kind of rooting for the underdogs of Spirit, and they got really close. Props to them.
I remember seeing a bit from Spirit in the play-in and the playoffs. I mean, I do feel for them. They had to play a lot of games. They definitely did not have it easy, even to get all the way to the final, because I think they went in at the quarterfinals of the play-in, and then they went lower bracket in the playoffs as well. So definitely had the long route to getting towards the end. But Ardfrost looks really good on this team. I think he's definitely a player that cemented probably the most consistency out of any player on that team this season, at least. And maybe we can get a bit more of an eye-opener for him next season. But are you surprised, perhaps, that it did take them so long? Like, I know you mentioned Frog, like, there's a lot of OTs, there's a lot of close games. Like, you can't always be putting that up. Do you reckon that's going to change, or you reckon that's going to stay the same?
I reckon it will stay the same. When I spoke to Art Frost, which it was really great. It was his first interview. It was awesome. But he told me that the player he looks up to the most, or he used to look up to the most, was Kenny S. And I can see that in his style of opping, in that he goes for a lot of flicks, he goes for outrageous shots, and that's how he really stood out last season. Once he started getting comfortable, you were seeing that he was just hitting these crazy shots. But to do that consistently, especially when you're super young, not everyone's Monsey, right? So until he kind of changes up his play style and tries to do something that's a bit more consistent, I think they're just going to sort of have the same issue. But I also feel like they're just kind of one roster move away from actually having like a real consistent title contender. I'm just not sure who yet. Like, I think Donk has some firepower, but he goes missing a lot of the time. Zontix has been really good. Owner obviously has been great. And then Hassanator is just like, he's there sometimes, he's not there. They also have like a substitution thing with Notineki. It's like a little weird. If they can just find a consistent five, and also maybe just like get that final like third star to really help out Art Frost and Owner, I think they can definitely like take the title next season.
Okay.
One thing I was going to ask you both, I had a massive crush, I would say, on Young Ninjas. This new Young Ninjas side, they look really good this season. I think with the changes that they'd made, obviously there was a lot of question marks bringing back the ZTR LNZ combo. Obviously, we got Adam B, Maxter, and Jaquinho in the mix. Era was a sub as well in this event, at least listed on Liquipedia. Don't quite know sort of where the roster stands, but considering we had Young Ninjas in the online era, I think we could all call back maybe 7-8 months ago, where we had Nilo and co in the roster. Like, this team was a menace, man. Like, they were killing it in tier 2. We had a bit of a blip, right, last year, where things didn't look the same. We were kind of in a Young Ninjas drought, where we were finding our feet. We had Temporary in the roster. There was a lot of changes made with this Young Ninjas side. This season, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just because they are like a new team on the block, and again, they've got massive new pieces. They did really well this season for me. I think that the results that they had over the teams that they played as well, having watched their debut as well, I thought that they actually put up a really, really good fight in Group B. And considering you had what seemed like an unbeatable Big Academy side in your group, second best in this scenario where you've got OG Academy, a New Look Ents Academy, and Apex Rebels that I feel like could have shown a little bit more promise. Fury Academy also surprising me. Like, you've got some pretty solid names, and they still come second in their group.
Yeah, I mean, I think Young Ninjas, as you said, were out of the first few teams in the first season really amazing, and we'd seen them play for quite a long time. I think their initial roster, the scouting process that went to building that lineup, was really, really good. And I don't want to say they got lucky because obviously they put in the work, but when they started looking for replacements, I think they just didn't find players that were quite at the same level, right? Thinking of Temporary, for example, I think he has a lot of potential, but he just wasn't really ready to fill in the shoes of Fuzi. And that's kind of what we saw this season is them going back for a bit more experience with Era. That was my understanding is that Era was meant to be the player they're looking at, and then Jaquinho kind of stood in the rest of the season because Era was on vacation or something. So I don't know who they're really going to go for, but either scenario, they're looking for somebody with experience because that was kind of what was missing with Temporary. I think keeping the core of ZTR and Linus, it worked. So it makes sense to try to go back to something like that, and then with Adam B and Maxter, taking a chance on some new talents as well. So it's just trying to find their footing. Hopefully next season they do have a set roster and can actually kind of perform.
I would say, Ryan, are we maybe expecting some of these guys to be in the Gamer Legion build? Just knowing the idea that they're not knuckled down, they're the sort of subs, we're not sure what's happening with the lineup. We know the Gamer Legion have obviously been Swedish core for quite a long time and have even had Swedish lineups in the past. It's probably quite likely that some of these guys that played with them this season go over to Gamer Legion and probably start a bit of a rebuild.
Could do. I think there's a lot of talent that is sort of in the question marks as well for that roster, right? I think when you look at this team, comes to mind there's plenty of Swedish players, right? And I think from the Young Ninjas rebuild from back when, I don't know what Nilo's situation's like now. Obviously you've got Sapek as well, who's another player that we've seen in this Young Ninjas lineup that could potentially make the jump across, right? I don't know how deep the Gamer Legion pockets currently stand, but obviously he plays for Eyeballers right now, Sapek, so what's not to say that we see some of the Eyeballers players move across as well. And obviously back in the day we had Nilo and Manon. Manon obviously moved ship to Coalesce, which we all know how that went. But after that, where is Manon currently? He's not under an org, he's not under a team, he's not under Coalesce right now. I do believe that all 5 players, the contracts are done. So again, I feel like there is a lot of opportunity, not just within Young Ninjas, but sort of the young players of the Swedish scene to get the jump up, right? I think as well as that we have, we'll probably talk about it a little bit later as well, the young prodigies. They've got Straxian as well, who came from 9 Academy, if I'm not mistaken, Josh. So there's a lot of range of talent on the map as well that I think we could see in the Gamer Legion side. But for Young Ninjas specifically, I'm not too sure if they let them go now. I would honestly keep them a little bit longer. Maybe, let them play another season. Season 6 maybe is this year as well, right? So it could be a case of very late in the year, we see them perform once more. Sure, they're kind of bound down to the Academy banner and they can't really go in for the major qualities and whatnot. But honestly, I think give it a season, this team will look 10 times better than what they do currently. And that'll probably jump up the prices, which obviously NIP as an org would be very happy about. And then obviously true reflection is, are we going to see similar results for a team that's been together for such a little amount of time, but still managed to get second in their group and obviously place top 6 in the first season that they have as a 5?
I would probably add to that about what the other Swedish team. Obviously, we've had the Little Mix guys on the show before. I think we all saw that Hype was quite a revelation. He was very good with the orb. Knew that Bobek and Franson, obviously they made that dream run as Aura, getting to the RMR towards the end of last year. Jack, what did you think of these guys? Because I think, especially with Alex at the helm, I was kind of surprised that he's 20, because even I remember when he was playing with Eccles and that back on the Fnatic Academy, not Fnatic Rising, the Fnatic Academy back in the day. So he's quite an experienced IGL. He's still 20 years old. I think they did okay Did you maybe think they would do better?
I mean, I was casting them there today, and you know they were actually quite good in the Elisa. But I was looking, you know, me and Ted were looking at this, and we were like, kind of saying, first of all, I didn't think that they would get rid of, you know, like Lax and all. To be honest, I loved Lax as a player. You know, I didn't think they were gonna get rid of him, but obviously the overhaul came in. I was looking at this team, I was like, all right, you know, I've seen a few of them. Spooky's a absolute baller. He's unbelievable. And I don't know, man. I think it was a little bit surprising, you know, to see them not get the results that maybe that squad would have warranted. But then again, they did beat some like like they did beat some decent teams. Like if you look through the results of who they actually beat, like they beat Mouse NXT, they beat Navi Junior, they beat Fnatic Rising, they beat Eternal Fire, and then they beat Astralis Talent towards the end. So you know, like they are the big dogs in that group. Do you know what I mean? And they beat a lot of them at least once. So, you know, the only one that I was actually expecting them to win out of that one was probably the Eternal Fire game. The other ones, I didn't think they had a chance. So they kind of impressed me in that regard. But I think consistency is just a massive thing for them right now. But then again, that comes with time, doesn't it? You know, you know, even if you are a core, you're adding 2 new players into the mix. You know, it can be a little bit difficult to, you know, get to grips with what's going on around with the rest of your teammates. So maybe it's just a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a build. All right, we're not too disappointed with the way it went. We had some decent results, and then next season kind of really go for it.
Frog, did you interview anyone from this team?
I did. I spoke to Spook, and you know, the way he spoke about it was that he felt really confident going into the season. They thought, like, you know, provided they can reach playoffs, they could go and win the whole thing, and I could see why. But I kind of agree that, like, you know, it just needs time, right? Like, you know, you're essentially a new roster because it's a new IGL with a, like, yeah, of course it's been together, but like now under a new org, there's a lot happening, right? You're not going to immediately get the dub against like established teams, and the results they got were in that respect really like impressive in my opinion. You know, I think there's a lot of firepower on that lineup. It's kind of interesting to see the trio, you know, go from Aura to Little Mix to now Prospects. And so it's nice to see that continuity. And I guess it can, you know, show some signs of like how the Swedish scene is starting to heal at like the lower level as well. Like the fact that we're getting these talents continuing and actually getting results now.
I do feel for Spook a little bit, Ryan. I mean, you go into last season, you got like a Norwegian international roster, and then you come back and you're like the only one. So
Yeah.
there was quite a shift from last season to this season, and it makes the question even wonder: is there going to be another change? Like if they've made massive roster moves from season to season in the past, what's saying that they don't do it again?
Yeah, I think I'd be a bit disappointed. Because if I'm honest, I think the 0-0 prospect side is going to look quite scary next season if they continue with the pace and sort of the results that they put in. I think the valid point made here, right, is that 0-0 prospects, they are a completely new look. Sure, as you said, like there's history with some of these players, but actually to go 5-7 in your first season as a group, yeah. I think you got to give decent respect to that. And obviously when you have Mouse NXT, Navi Junior, Fnatic Rising, 3 very respectable teams, obviously Spirit Academy in the mix as well, Eternal Fire Academy, I mean, you know, they were outed as last, I think, from the get-go. But for everyone else in this group, you would put them below, right? And so the fact that they scraped 5 wins together here, I think that's super impressive, and I can only give them respect to that. And they even beat the winners, right, of Fnatic Rising in the group stage. So, you know, if we want to look at it like that, then there is definitely chances there. I think we can talk about the play-ins and the playoffs, sort of wrap it up quite quickly. Obviously, the play-in stage basically allows people to qualify for the playoffs. It's kind of like, you know, if you go third in your group, you go to the semi-finals. If you come, if you come second in your group, you go to the semi-finals. If you come third and fourth, you get put into the quarterfinals. And so you're basically forced to play 2 best-of-3s. Astralis Talent and Spirit Academy were the 2 teams to qualify to the playoff stage. And in the double elim, it was Fnatic Rising that lost 1 map in overtime on Ancient, and they were able to take the rest of the tournament in 2-0 format. So pretty convincing stuff. Obviously, I think here on the stream and you know, if you're watching the VOD, we're gonna have a big heart for Volt as a UK player as well. It was really nice to see him win. I think the journey that the man's had throughout his career so far, obviously having played Project 5, Vexed, UMX, like he was in some pretty big names, got snapped up by Coalesce. Obviously, the whole Coalesce scenario went astray. Played under Fanbit for a while, and then Fnatic Rising take the gamble, and they pick him up. And I think it is massively, and I mean massively, paying off that he gets that chance. He's looked really good ever since joining this Fnatic Rising side, and I would say pre-Fnatic Rising as well, but now we can actually see him play against some pretty decent level of opponent, and he's still tapping heads like he was if he was playing in main.
Yeah, I don't think it's easy, right, to leave a team like Fanbit when you'd been there as long as you did. But obviously circumstances are really important. The fact that, you know, they were unorged, you don't know when your next paycheck's coming around the corner, and when you get an offer like this, I think you just have to take it. I don't think there's many other ways of looking at around it. And I think for Volt, like, definitely after this season, you can look at that and say this was the right choice. You know, you've come in, you've gone to an academy team, you've done really well, you've gone all the way. I mean, Volt, someone that you know quite well, Jack.
Yep.
What did you think of, like, his individual performance? Obviously, the team did really well. What do you think of him?
I thought he played quite well when he needed to. I think Pepsor really kind of just dominated, to be honest. Pepsor and Maze had some really good showings, and I was like saying to Ted, you know, when we were actually talking on the broadcast of the Academy League, we were like, all right, you know, who do we think is going to step up? Because obviously, like, you're losing Regali, and myself and Ted, once we seen Depression was in the lineup, we were like, okay, there needs to be somebody else, because I'm not being smart, and it's no disrespect to Depression or whatever, but he's not Regali, and I think anyone would struggle coming into that lineup. But we all thought it was going to be Volt. Like, we were like saying, because obviously I knew him from Coalesce, you know, I'm good mates with him. He's an unbelievable player. Like, mechanically, everything, his ability is absolutely ridiculous. He's one of the best players I've ever seen in the server. And like, I'll die on that hill. I'll fight any man that tells me no, that's not true. But, you know, I think he might have thought he played, you know, a little bit average in a few games, but there was some games that he was just absolutely banging out against, especially when you got into, you know, the playoff stage, you know, when you got to the final and the semi-final. And I was actually having a chat to Artist about this as well. Usually, you know, when it gets to like final games that they had in the past with Coalesce and, you know, with Fanbit as well, it usually wasn't Volt to kind of step up and have a good game, because he played really well up until the final, and then it was almost like he kind of got a little bit, I wouldn't say stage fright, but do you know what I mean? Like, he kind of dropped back a little bit, played okay, not to the level that you'd usually expect from him, but there was no sign of that. He was, you know, doing what he needed to do, and then he got to the final, and then he did even more than that.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on the Maze wagon as well and say, mate, this guy's unreal. Some of the games I was seeing from him, he can really turn it around just by himself. And just looking at the duo of Pepsor and Maze, if you've got those two consistently being strong entities for this team, and you just get a little bit more support around it, I think that's where we saw them find so much success. I didn't see much from Depression. I don't know if that's a weak sign. What do you think, Frog? Like, obviously you won it, so like you have to look at it as a big positive, but at the same time you do have to look at every sort of entity to say, okay, well, how can there be improvement? Do you think that Depression's got a long way to go still?
I mean, to a degree. I was surprised when I saw Depression was on the lineup before that was like really officially announced, just because like he's been out of it, right? He's been inactive for almost a year since Martin Gaming, but on Martin Gaming he was like kind of the star player, so it's like kid has potential, but he wouldn't have been like my first pick after, you know, parting ways with Regali, I guess. Both players are represented by Prodigy. Maybe that's where like that connection came through. I don't really know. I'm just speculating, but yeah, it was just a bit weird. I have to agree, like Maze is just the guy, right? Like he was really what turned the ship around for Fnatic. Because coming into season one, yeah, you know, if we could throw it back a little, it was the Regali show. The team was assembled like a week before Academy League started, and Regali was, you know, off of school. He was just absolutely balling out of control and hitting crazy shots all the time. And I think that kind of like overinflated everyone's expectations for Fnatic, because then he just kind of dropped off. Teams continued getting better with every season, and he went back to school. He didn't have as much time to put into CS, and I don't know, from like the segments we would hear with the voice comms and stuff like that, I also just feel like Keve wasn't the right person for the job to lead this team. He was very, very quiet. They used to have like a pretty vocal player in Prosis, but he obviously left. joined Big Academy, and they got Banjo, who was also equally quiet. So whenever you get like the Fnatic voice comm moments during the games, it's just no one's really speaking. A person
Yeah.
dies, they're a little tilted. Maze just changed that whole thing, and I think he's the real MVP. We saw the start of that last season, and then in season 4, and then with season 5, it's just been like a continuation of what he was building upon. And when I spoke to him for an interview, I was like, oh, what's the angle to take down Mouse NXT? And he was like, I don't care about Mouse NXT. I'm here to win. That's it. Like, there was no, oh, what's the master plan to dethrone Mouse? They did not care about Mouse. They came here to play their own game, and they won. And they, I think the long run, hopefully we see Depression get a bit more comfortable, because I agree that, like, yeah, filling in Regali's shoes is not super easy, but what they've got right now, I think, is a much better, like, foundation to build upon compared to what they had like the previous seasons.
Jack, maybe for any of the viewers at home that didn't watch a massive amount of the Academy League, can you run us through like the voice comms and how everyone at like home gets to like listen to them?
Oh, like, well, basically we kind of get fed basically the TeamSpeak. So obviously bot and TeamSpeak, and then during whatever round, it's usually, I believe, the pistol round, and then like around the third round, you kind of get one. So you get 4 per game. Now there was a few technical issues in a few of them, but yeah. I actually loved it, to be honest, because that was my first time experiencing something like
Yeah.
that, that you get to listen in, you get to hear, the hype up, especially when they win around, when they're getting stomped in the second half, and you get that, the round 21 TS comes, and it's 16-14, 16-5, or 15-14 down, like it's pretty bad, but it was really cool. It was really cool getting to listen into what actually goes on inside some of these top academy teams. But like you said as well, Frog, with Fnatic Rising, there was always kind of an upbeat tune with them. Like, they only started in the second week, but something I noticed, obviously we didn't get to listen to every single comms in English because different teams and whatnot, but the ones that we could understand, definitely Fnatic Rising, it seemed like their comms were the most clear. It seemed like they were having the most fun all the time, like, just taking the mick a little bit, taking the piss, just running around, having fun, which is how you're gonna win these events. Like, you can't be super serious all the time. You have to kind of take it easy breezy in a few of the situations. But yeah, no, it's I'd actually like to see a lot more kind of events kind of interpret and integrate those TS rounds if they can.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Frog, actually, was I'm sure I read somewhere that Ents Academy are going to be communicating in English and Finnish, because obviously,
Yep.
if they need promotion to the main team, it makes a lot of sense that it goes down to that direction. Was there any interviews or any voice comms or anything that was in English, or was it just all in Finnish the whole season?
We didn't do any content with the players this season specifically. I spoke
Okay.
to Whitey and well, obviously the coach, and the academy program lead, Wumera. And I just kind of wanted to get a feel for what they were doing with this program. What was the like vision for it? In the future, we want to be able to do content with the players as well, because the whole point of doing stuff with them is to grow their brand. Not everyone's going to be Monesy, and that's just the sad reality of it. So if you're just somebody who's quite good like Pepsor, how do you stand out, beyond just being quite good at the game? And that's where we try to do content. But in terms of communication, yeah, the whole idea with them was that they want to be able to actually develop the players so that if they want to be promoted to the main team, well, cool, they don't have to go from never having spoken English in a team setting to actually being able to like do that, or joining another team, right? If they're joining an international EU team. So I think it's a pretty good approach. It's a nice balance to be able to like, okay, let them play in their native language, because it's kind of stupid otherwise to just have these 5 Finnish guys not speaking Finnish. But being able to grow their English skills and also make Whitey's job a little bit easier in the process, I think is a really good idea.
All right. Ryan, I wanted to talk about Furia a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I got to cast them one of their best of 3s in the Gauntlet stage last season. Now, one thing to obviously start off with is that the Gauntlet was slightly different. I think the play-ins in previous seasons have been a lot longer than what they were this time around. But they really surprised. I don't think they were a favorite last season at all to do that well. They got into the playoffs. They made top 3. And then you kind of set a standard for yourself that once you surprise teams and you come third, you're almost expecting, okay, well, playoffs at minimum. And that didn't come. I don't know if you casted any of their games, Jack, but this season just didn't quite live up to the last.
Yeah, for Fury Academy, I don't know. I don't know what went wrong, to be honest. I had really high expectations for them going into like the play-in stage. To be honest, I thought they played all right. We only kind of got to see them in the second week was when they started playing all their games. So I wonder, was maybe that a little bit of an issue, because when all the games are kind of so bunched together, obviously you're only going to have half the time to prepare for what maps or whatever, go and looking at demos, especially because the majority of the time they had like 2 games every day. So like they were maybe playing a game, having an hour break, and then going back straight into another official. So I don't know. In that regard, I thought they did quite well in Group B. They had some pretty good results, but coming up against Astralis Talent, a close game on Vertigo, they got absolutely. Or excuse me, sorry, I'm actually just looking at the wrong game. To be honest, I mean it was close games. Like I mean I didn't get to catch it myself. I was actually away. But I was surprised to see it go 2-0. From Astralis' point of view, because I thought I wasn't that impressed with Astralis, because it was literally just Fesser or it was nobody, which is probably to be expected. But Furia, I don't know what went wrong, to be honest. And if maybe they stick with this lineup for the next WePlay, I'm not too sure about that either.
Frog, do you reckon that's the most underwhelming team here? Like, if we're comparing last season to this season?
I suppose. I mean, I think like Kawas was the big revelation of season 4 for me. Just because like he kind of came out of nowhere and showed like really like impressive aim, impressive mechanics, good game sense as well. Like he was kind of just art, but like in a pure rifling form. And I think there was a continuation of that in this season, but I don't know. Like it just felt like as a team they weren't quite clicking. I guess the difference maybe between season 4 and season 5 is that like season 4 we kind of just finally saw the teams that had stuck together for the longest period of time, Astralis, Big, Furia, and not made that many changes compared to the teams that had made a lot of changes going into that season, right? It was the teams that have stuck together that ended up doing quite well. This season a little bit less so, right? Like as Jack touched on, it was the Fessor show or was nothing really for Astralis Talent in a lot of games. I guess it was a little bit of that as well. Like Decent T stepped up to the plate a little bit more, I feel like, this season, but I don't know, as a team they just weren't really there. And with the newcomers this season and some of the like the new roster changes and some of the other teams, it was just like they just were a little bit underwhelming. I'm not quite sure what the reason for that is. Maybe they didn't get to travel back home. I have no idea. Maybe they just needed a bit of a break. I'm not really too sure what's going on in the Furia camp. I kind of feel like a change is maybe on the horizon for them going into the next season, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe they just need some time off, rest, and reset into season 6.
Ryan, I don't remember the last time you casted Astralis Talent, but we've definitely like spoke a bit about them on the show because they've been playing quite a lot of those local events. Have you casted them recently?
Not too much. I think I had the watch of them versus who was it? Navi Junior in the opening game that went double overtime. That, or maybe even triple overtime. Like that was a really good game to watch. But again, it felt like it was very much on the backs of one individual, right, for Astralis Talent. To be honest, I think Breezer kind of surprised me a little bit this season. I haven't really kept a keen eye on this side whatsoever. But again, he's obviously in Ecstatic now, right? If I'm not mistaken, or at least he got the call up there, so he must be doing something right. This season, maybe specifically, wasn't his best showing, but he's got the move across now. He's in a healthier environment. We know Ecstatic is a big name in Tier 2, so there's going to be a lot more invites. And I feel like for me that was a big move for Astralis Talent as well, because they lose, not their A-game player. I think we can very much say that that's not in his hands. But again, you get Breezer a chance in a new team, and Astralis Talent can go elsewhere. And maybe, the missing piece this time has been that Breezer's been on this team. I'm not saying that he's a bad player. Actually, I think he's pretty good. But sometimes change is needed to make a good team. And so for me, the fact that Breezer this season had an okay appearance, but now he can move across and he has a new chance at playing Counter-Strike in a completely different environment, I'm all here for that. And so, I think for Astrala's talent as a whole, it very much was the one-man army. Breezer now getting the call up, though, that's pretty cool. And the bigger question for me now is, what do Astrala's talent do heading into next season, right? Like, the changes that they make now, they can't play in the RMR qualifiers, that's okay. Do we see them play in the Danish events, the El Gigantons and whatnot? Do we see them play at a lower level just to gauge how good they are against some other Danish sides as well? I'm hoping so, and I hope they find that position quite quickly and they can rebuild, because Astrala's talent a year and a half ago, Josh, I remember us watching all of the original Pinnacle events, like your Snow Sweet Snows and your Spring Sweet Springs. My God, were they not good. We really, really struggled to see some form out of them. Even if there was a decent game, like, we were looking at a map, a map off of teams, not even a series. Like, they were rock bottom every single time. And so it's nice to see that the persistence is there, right, for Astrala's talent. Is like, we will make this project work, and we will push to get a good team that works together quite nicely. And I can only respect Astrala's talent because maybe, some other bigger names will invest in a team, kind of go, oh, we're not really getting the results that we want, and let's get rid of it. I'm going to say NIP as an example, right? We had Nilo and Manon in the team. We're getting pretty good results, kind of stagnated in Tier 2, but still did a pretty good job, right? Like, still boasted some pretty respectable results, but that was enough for NIP to shut the doors and reintroduce new talent. Astrala's talent take it differently, and we're starting to see that the time together and sort of the belief in the process has definitely paid off. In this event, they've come fourth, which is very respectable, right? They lose a map. They take a map off of Fnatic Rising, go down to the lower bracket, lose to Spirit Academy. But let's not forget they came from the play-in stage, right, where they beat Na'Vi Junior 2-1, who looked pretty decent this season as well, coming second only to Fnatic Rising. There's definitely improvement here, and I can't wait to see them next season, honestly. I think that's going to be a really fun watch for them.
Man, I am being funny. I don't know how Fessor has managed to get himself off this team. Like, I looked at this season, and I've looked at Fessor this year. I even put a tweet out like, oh, one of the most impressive players I've looked at, and then a day later, it's like, oh, he's not even playing with Astrala's talent anymore. I don't know the situation. I think as far as it was listed, it was a mutual agreement from both parties. But, like, how is that possible? Like, how is Astrala's talent saying, oh, if you want to leave, mate, you can do? Like, he's their best player by an absolute country mile. I would actually said he's, like, the MVP for this season for me. Like, out of any player that played this season of WePlay, he is the number one player, and yet somehow there's a mutual agreement that he could just leave?
I don't know how that really happened. And I think, for me, the most shocking thing is that he doesn't have anything else lined up. He's not going to another team right now, is what I've heard. So I don't know how that happens. I don't know how a player of his caliber doing what he was doing. I don't know. It's just mind-boggling. It just feels super frustrating for me because, like, I don't know. I feel like, and respect to Astralis and all that, but, like, I feel like their roster has been the most underwhelming for the longest period of time, just because of, like, coming into season one. Oh, well, initially when they built the roster, they had Zyphon, and that was super cool, because he was a player that looked like that had a really good future, and obviously he did. But they parted ways with him really early on. They've brought in some pieces here and there that looked okay, but, like, even their most recent additions of Christu and Jerko, these are guys that should have been on the team at like the end of 2020 when they made this team. It's just, I don't know. It feels like they were taking such a long time to kind of bring in, somewhat experienced, but, like, still upcoming players, rather than really, like, what they did initially in digging super deep and just kind of getting not nobodies, right, but, like, very inexperienced players. I think Trace did, like, phenomenal when he was with them for that short period of time before then joining the main team. In a way, it'd be nice to see him continue a little bit longer, just to kind of, like, really drill some like structure into that system. I don't know. It's just, I think there's potential, but, like, you're losing Fessor. There's nobody you can replace Fessor with now, and the only thing I can hope for is that, like, with this new look, like with Christu and Yarko, it's just going to be hopefully a more cohesive team. Everyone's going to, like, step up a little bit better. But if it's got to be a one-man show again, they're just not going to be able to do anything. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I wonder how he swung that. I'd say he plopped down the 8 grand that they got for the prize money and said, "There you go, that's it. My debt's paid. I'm gone. I'm out of here," and just dipped. But how they've let him walk out the door by a mutual agreement, man, that might be the worst bit of business I've ever seen. Unless he has the dirt on them. That's the only other
Yeah.
thing I can think of. Unless he had something awful that they don't want out there. But man, like. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense, does it? Like, he's a cracking player. And to be honest, without him, I don't even know if they get prize money, to be honest. I think a lot of teams just actually rolled him. That's how good of a player he was, and that's how like much he was above everybody else in that team. And and that's no disrespect to the players, because there is some decent players in that lineup, but it's quite clear that they're just not on his level, or they'll take a long while to even come close to the kind of numbers that he was putting up. But yeah, I don't know. Looking at this new Astralis talent lineup for next season, I'm not very hopeful, to be honest. I mean, Christo is a decent player. I don't know too much about Jarko, so um, I don't know. But it's kind of the same thing of when Fnatic let go of Regali, who's gonna step up and do the work? Who's gonna step up and do the job? Luckily for Fnatic Rising, everybody pulled together and they stepped up. And they had a little bit more to the puzzle. Like, they had a few more pieces than Astralis talent do now. But I'd say Astralis talent are gonna really struggle in this next WePlay, unless I'd love to be proven wrong, but it doesn't look great.
Yeah, it could be an opportunity for some of the other academy teams to maybe snatch him up, like at least give the offer out there. I mean,
Yeah.
OG Academy, I could see them perhaps getting a Fessor.
Yeah.
0-0 prospects, if they want to go Danes and Swedes, we know it happens in the past. That could be an opportunity. Apex Rebels as well. Like, there's a few of those Nordic teams that you could see perhaps a Dane sort of slips in. But where he goes next, I think we'll have to just wait and see, because there has been quite a lot of changes in that sort of scene at the moment. So where there is a spot to be found might take a little bit of time, but I think it'll probably be quite a hot prospect to get picked up. It's just whether that comes next week or comes in a month or so. I mean, even for the Apex Rebels, I've seen Mythard tweeting like quite a bit about the structure of the coaching and like getting them playing fun games and all being together as a unit. Have you spoken to him at all, Frog? Because it seems like he's got a very good vision on like being a coach outside of just in the server.
For sure. I mean, what we saw with the initial Apex Rebels lineup, right, the one that went over to NA to play Frag, that was awesome, right? And it was a bit of like a one-man show with Sly, and that he was that team's like hard carry, putting up 1.2, 1.3 ratings all the time. But like, it felt like the team was structured towards that. It didn't just feel like, oh, it's like just this guy carrying everyone else. I was a little bit disappointed, obviously, with this 2.0 version of the roster, both last season and in season 5. It's, I don't know. Mither like is a phenomenal coach. He's got so much experience, and I have a lot of faith in his vision and what he's doing, because I think like it worked out once. It's definitely going to work again. But the talent pool in Norway isn't incredibly deep, right? There's a lot of progress to be made there. So he's not going to get results overnight, and it's kind of the sad part of it. I think they've got some decent pieces on this roster, right? But it'll take a bit of time. Whether they choose to stay full Norwegian, or maybe they just like keep a core and pick up some international players like Fessor, that might be an option. I don't know. I think they have a lot of possibilities, and I really love that Apex is kind of committed to that. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Do you see much from them, Jack? I mean, the thing that I think we've seen before for Norwegian players, we saw it from Nasty when he went over to Apex, that sometimes like the jump is just too big. And I feel like even for Berserk, like some of his AWPing was just wasn't there. And I don't know, again, is it this the level is not there yet? It takes more time. If they can keep their slot here in WePlay, come every season, and maybe do what Astralis Talent have done in the past, where you can start building up and you've got something to work with. But especially for an AWPer, I felt like he was very underwhelming this event.
Yeah, now I will say I don't think he was the worst opper in there. I think you could throw about 8 names in the hat, because some of the opping was absolutely abysmal by a lot of the players. But um, I don't know. They were really bad at the beginning. They looked really, really bad. But then all of a sudden they just kind of they did towards the end kind of fix a few of the problems. You could see they were getting better. They got the 12 rounds against Young Ninjas. I think that was really the start of it. Then they got their first win. You know, only finishing with 2 wins in the server. Of course, they got the defaults against Young Gods because they pulled out. But yeah, I think there is a little bit of promise with that team. I don't think Mitter's a smart fella, you know, so I don't think he's staying with them for no reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, he obviously sees something in them, and you know, he seems very committed to making this team into something. They've had their moments. A few of them have had their moments. Do I think this 5 is gonna, you know, get into maybe playoffs and win the academy next season? No. I don't think so, unless there's a massive improvement. But then again, you know, where would you bring in the improvement from? Because it goes back to the point of that you made, Frog, about the talent pool isn't really that deep unless Norway have got some absolute gem that they're sitting on that is just, you know, up and coming right now. I really don't see it. And as for the point about Fesser, I don't think he'll go to another academy team. I think he's done the Academy League. I think what he's looking for now is he is looking for, maybe that's why as well, that he was able to leave, you know, Astralis Talent by mutual consent, saying, all right, I'm going to play one more Academy League, which is, we'll see what happens. We'll see how well we get on. We don't win, I'll move on. Do you know what I mean? And then I'll go into the tier 2 scene, because I think he's kind of run his course. I think he's a lot better than a lot of players as well. And if he goes into that Apex Rivals lineup, I think that's about 4 steps back from him. Than that, even if the money is great. I know money talks and all that, but I really don't see that happening.
I think a lot of questions. A lot of questions that we can ask ourselves heading into next season. Already a lot of changes. There's no doubt that there's going to be more stuff going on between now and then. Gents, I think we can move forward to the Beyond Invitational Summer. It's an event, for those at home maybe that don't know, very good for us UK-wise, because outside of your Blasts qualifiers and, of course, ESL Premiership, this is the only standout event that we have for the UK. And obviously it's ran by the UK circuit, owned by Endpoint, but quite interesting, and there's some details that I'll get into later about them and why I like the UKIC so much. This is an event it seems to be that they're going to do it seasonally, so 4 times a year. £2,000 prize pool, teams get invites, it's all online, it's ran, produced, observed, everything at home. And we just pump out a stream, we let casters do their thing, we let the teams do their thing more importantly, and it's a double Elim bracket that, well, last time all got featured on HLTV, which I think we'll touch on a little bit more, but just to set the tone, I think we have nothing but love for these kind of events, guys, because we really struggle in the UK scene to get them. Obviously, we have our BYOC events, if your Epic Lands and your Insomnias, which is probably what we'll talk about later. But this is the first time we have a UK event with such a limited prize pool, but with so much coverage. And then on top of that coverage as well, it's I feel like bringing a new level. The teams, the players that are up and coming, they have a chance to get on HLTV, right? Sure, it's not going to be a haul of points that puts you in a spot to get invites into, you know, your CCTs and whatevers, but definitely can put you on the map. Definitely could be teams that eye you up and kind of go, do you know what? I'm interested in this player. So I think we can quite quickly start talking about the Beyond Spring event, maybe the one that we just had. Sort of give a little bit of backstory to it. And then we can bring up this one, because we still don't know all the teams that are playing. So I'll show up at home. Excuse me, it's a single elimination bracket, but I'll bring it up at home for everyone to see. We had some pretty respectable names from last time out, I think is safe to say. Obviously, you have ITB, who were outright predicted to win this one. We had the Fanbit at the time without Volt on it. We were playing with Tadpole in for this event, if I'm not mistaken. Blackhand, we know them obviously as a pretty respectable side. Since then, these guys have made changes. Dusty, that's always a funny one to talk about. These guys, obviously, they deserve the invite. They are part of the Icelandic region, UKIC and whatnot. And then, obviously, Temperate, TLR, Eco, Recognised Talent. Gents, what do we think about last event heading into this one? We don't know all the invites. We don't know the stage just yet. What are we thinking, though?
Hopefully no more 2-0s. I mean, there was a lot of one-sided games.
Yes.
Which I don't think is ideal for HLTV coverage, right? Like, when you want to get these sort of events on HLTV, you want them to be close. You want them to be down to the wire. You want, you know, teams to be very competitive against one another, because I think it builds up a little bit maybe more hype and like more excitement around the event, whereas Fanbit and ITB just like blew their way through this bracket completely. Now, of course, there's two ways of looking at it. I think the first one is, are they often enough? There's only 3-4 a year. At the same time, what have you had before this? I think you had the odd cash cup here or there on Wikipedia, but we haven't had UK events like this on HLTV from what I can remember. And I've only been a part of the scene for like the last 4 years. So it's very good in that respect. It's getting UK teams on HLTV. Prize pool's decent as well. It's a very quick event. It's only a couple of days. It's not taking up a massive schedule like a league or something like that. That's going to take a lot of time away. So I think the last one looked very positive. As for the next one, I'd love for it to be more competitive and hopefully have some more 3-map series.
Well, yeah, I think it will, to be honest. Looking at it, I didn't actually get to watch all that much of the spring one, but I think a few of the teams that have already qualified. I know LVN's team has already qualified for this one.
Spade, yeah.
Spade, and I can't remember the other team.
X-Ravel. It's Whiffin, Ducky, Synergy, Mr. Zodi.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, there's a few decent teams already. There's still more of them. I believe there's one qualifier on Sunday as well. To be honest, I think it's a great idea. Because a lot of people in the UK scene, they just want to get HLTV as well. Like that is a lot of people's goals because they're very realistic. They maybe know that okay, that's probably the top. That's probably that me at my peak is if I can get HLTV, that's the goal. And now to be fair, that was the goal for the Fanbit boys back when they were in Maine, because I remember I was in there with the TeamSpeak. We were chatting away, and all the time it was, when are we getting HLTV? Ooh, we were close to HLTV. And the only way you could usually get it was playing through those open qualifiers and going very deep in them. So like it was pretty much out of reach for a lot of these UK teams. But now this is a really good opportunity. I mean, like you mightn't get the best result out of it because you do have the good teams. You've the Fanbit, you've the ITB, but I think it's just about getting the HLTV profile yourself. But whether the rating after the game is going to be memed or not, that's another thing. But it's just a chance that some of these UK teams will have to take. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's pretty obvious who's going to be the next invites, right? Like, you can look at 3 spots available. We all know that Dusty's broken apart, so they'll probably won't get an invite back in. You've obviously got 1pin, you've got Eco, and you've got ITB. And I can't imagine any of those 3 teams are going to go through open quals. So you can get a rough gauge of what these teams are going to be. Frog, like, do you think that with those sort of teams coming in, I mean, obviously, especially ITB and 1pin are starting to get quite a bit on HLTV recently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think those are the most likely options, just because I looked at who was signed up for the second open qual as well, and they're not in there, meaning that most likely they're gonna be invited, and it makes the most sense. I'm not sure for Into the Breach really, given that like maybe they're just trying to move on to like the next step, bring in Draken and all that, but I can't really think of anybody else they would invite, right? Like the only other team might be like, I don't know, Insiders or something like that, because I saw they weren't signed up, but then it's like just, I don't know, I feel like they're a bit lower level maybe than Spade, so I don't know. But I love this kind of event, right? Like I love these single elim events. It's quick, it's short, it's snappy. Obviously competitive games would be nice, and hopefully if they kind of continue to perform for some like viewer metrics and stuff like that, they can get some more sponsors. Maybe a company like Midnight gets involved or something like that, and they can up the prize pool. Maybe that attracts teams like Into the Breach, or I wouldn't say Endpoint because maybe there's a conflict there, but maybe even Fnatic, right? They send Fnatic Rising there or something like that. It would be cool to see some more teams with like a UK player, at least as a representative, kind of getting involved in it, attracting more viewership. I don't know. I love this kind of stuff. I hope to see more of these. And honestly, props to Beyond and UKIC to keep doing these things.
One thing I will add, Ryan, about Blackhand is obviously there's a report of the Timo benching. Like, unfortunately, you can't really catch a break.
Poor lads.
I look at that and just think, like, what is happening? Like, how are they going to North America for what has to be the biggest event for those players in years?
I don't know.
And yet they're going to an event and they want to make a roster change beforehand. Like, surely you'd want to go with your 5, and then, okay, if it's not what you wanted, if it's not that top 4 placing, that's when we do it. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that there's already a report of a Timo benching before you even go to America, like, I feel like the timing is so off there.
I don't know. It was I complained about EU teams doing it just before the RMR qualifiers, right? In the if you're gonna make a roster change, you either do it with enough time that you can settle in on Prak, new 5th, introduce him to the stuff, and basically knuckle down. He doesn't have to fit like a glove, but he definitely needs to understand strats. And I mean, for Blackhand, they've had a bit of misfortune recently with their strat book being leaked. People were laughing about that and whatnot on Twitter. I mean, that's only going to set you back even further. So how's a roster change going to add up on top of this, and you're still going to go and make a decent performance at Frag? I don't know. I really don't get the Black Hand scenario and the decision-making behind that. I mean, listen, there's some pretty experienced players on this Black Hand side. I think Fraser's probably the man that you look at here. He's capable of turning these things around, but you're making this change so soon. And for me, not only for this event, obviously, which is what we're talking about, but for Frag as well, which is even closer than this. What the hell are we doing, guys? Like, as you said, Josh, I think rightly so, you can think about making that change, but surely you wouldn't do it this close to Frag. Surely you would think about doing it. Okay, if Timo doesn't perform, if this isn't what we expected from picking up Timo, if this isn't, because they had Gizmi before, right? If I'm not mistaken, or yeah, it Gizmi, right?
I think so.
So you go from
Reese for a period, no?
Yes, you're right. You are right. So we had Reese Stumbles. Before that, we had Gizmi. So we have like 2 pretty capable players, and Timo is pretty respectable as well. He's you put him in a position, he'll do his job. And I think, Jack, you'll know about this as well as his time in Fanbit, is, he's not going to hit the top of the sheets. But if you need someone that is going to be the bitch of the team, basically, like, Timo is the man to call because he doesn't care. He's a team player, right? And
2-time LAN winner as well.
I don't get this. I don't get this.
Tim's a trooper, man. Tim is an absolute trooper, and he doesn't get like enough respect because he does have all the shitty little roles, and that was the same in Fanbit and in Coalesce. Even when I was coaching there, like, it was like he was in all the rough spots. He didn't care, even if he was, playing bad, and especially advanced was very tough for him. In a lot of those games, he really did struggle. But then there was other times that he did actually do a job. Yes, he wasn't going to be your man that's dropping 30 kills every game. No, but nobody's expecting that from him. But yeah. Is that reported, or is that definitely true that he's actually like not going?
I think it was reported, but I think I remember Timo liking the tweet, like,
yeah.
Like, he interacted
I
with the
mean,
tweet.
if you don't like it, you'll cry. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't, if you don't have a little bit of a laugh about it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, there is a whole different world where we look at this and actually it isn't true, right? And it is just like some report. But I have no doubt that UK CS:GO, the website that does all this, would bring a storyline like that and bring a headline like that so close to Frag without being like 99.9% sure that this is going to happen. Because if this isn't, then the whole internal talk is like, Timo's like, guys, how the hell has this rumor even come about? And then, fingers are going to be pointed internally and whatnot. Like, I think it's a done deal behind closed doors, and, we're just waiting to see if it happens. I am interested in wondering is if he's going to go to Frag with the team, and then afterwards the roster change happens. But then why would you even consider it in the first place? Why would you, publicize that? And I don't know, man. There's so many questions for this Blackhand side.
Well, I'm looking at it now, and Timo even retweeted it, let alone liked it.
Oh, wow.
And it says, Blackhand trial Husky. That was obviously the last report. According to sources close to the team, Husky is on trial with the team as Timo's replacement for Fragadelphia. So that's enough information to go off that it seems like for Frag, it will be Husky in replacement of Timo.
Well, no, go ahead, Frog.
When was the last time Husky played? Like, I remembered him on Echo, but was he on Havoc for a bit? Maybe?
Oh,
I don't remember.
Before that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
So he played on EKO, didn't he? At Epic 34, I want to say.
Yeah, and iSeries.
And yeah, I'm chronologically played at Epic 34, played at iSeries. Didn't play Epic 35 because obviously that was the one we just went to, Josh. Spec.
I think he was there actually, but he was there as a mix. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, sorry. This is like team environment. Like I'm trying to.
Yeah.
So like he may have gone as a mix, but he definitely wasn't on a team.
No.
I think that's the one. Maybe if someone can check off stream, Dutchy's tweet,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure that he was starting a project with Dutchy. I think it was like Dutchy's pinned tweet or something like that.
Okay.
I'm like 90% sure that he was part of that original 3. Maybe he got the call up just after. But again, like he's been sitting in a trial period for a couple of different teams and whatnot, and hasn't really found a home. If this is the new place, that's pretty cool. Like, good for
Yeah.
him. But again, for the team, I think like we're all in complete agreement. This does more bad than good.
Yeah, and okay, I'm still new to the UK scene, right? I've only been here for a year now. I'm still learning, right? But I feel like, I mean, I'm agreeing with you guys. Timo's always really impressed me as like a really selfless player on the server. From what I've seen, he's like doesn't look like he's and on social media as well from the bits and pieces I've seen. Like he doesn't look like he complains all too much. This is just a weird move. I don't know if Husky's like. I don't know enough about Husky really to say if like he'd be the right replacement, but I feel like in terms of selfless players, I've not really seen anyone besides Timo like at least that same level of like, yeah, I'm happy to do whatever, right? This is I don't know, it's just a super weird move for me.
And I think maybe something that we're getting a trend of is that even if Blackhand are doing well, maybe they still feel like there's a piece missing, perhaps, because you look back at the Premiership season, they had a really close game against Endpoint, and then Reese was on the team, and then you get Timo over, and then maybe there's someone else. So it might just be that the idea here for Blackhand is that they're not happy with where they are. Like they think that there's that one piece to go to the next level, and maybe that's why this decision has come through. Maybe they think that going with Husky to America might actually benefit them, that they're going with a slightly stronger team perhaps than what they would before. So just could be, you know, a level of thinking and what they're trying to get out of the whole project. But this could be a great tell. You know, we've got Frag, we've then got them playing online with UK teams. We'll get a bit of a gauge of where they sit, how far that they can go. Again, open qualifiers in a few days. I know we'll be playing in the Ryan, so all the UK guys can sign up, you know, enjoy it, because that's what it's all about. It's all about getting as many teams involved.
That's it. Like, you know, just get in and play. Even if it's only, you know, with a few of your mates, even if you don't think you're going to do that well, just go have a bit of crack. Like, you know, that's what it's all about. Just sign up. It's even if you have the time now, you know, I understand people are working and stuff like that, man, but just go in, take the mick a little bit. You don't have to win everything. Just, you know, make sure that there's going to be numbers in it. But yeah, I'm interested to see actually who's going to get on, who's actually going to get through that open qualifier, because I know we're going for it anyway with Legates. We're actually 10-5.
The teams, Ryan, if you could bring that up.
I can bring up the teams, yeah.
Well, I don't think we've signed up just yet, but we are signing up. We're currently 10-5 down on Dust 2, so I'm meant to be coaching right now, actually. But so you should want to be pretty happy that I'm be here. I'm putting yous first, lads. 10-6 though, so we won the pistol. Let's go.
Easy.
Love
I have
that,
it on the second monitor. I have just Steam Friends open. I'm just getting score updates here. I don't know if that's a first on the tier 2 talk, but
mate, we love that. We do like that.
Gave a little pep talk in the WhatsApp group as well. So.
All right, there we have it. So the 9 teams so far is we have Click, which are the Meows guys, if I'm not mistaken. We have Royals, obviously Mythics is playing. I love my man Mythics. Like he's a really good friend of mine outside of the game. He's definitely not the same level as everyone else on this team, but if they can make it, like this is just HLTV for Royals, and again that's the side that probably does need it heading into a pretty expansive tier 2 sort of time for them. The Neverlast guys, obviously the spammy Wellard Joe RJ Infinite combo. Temperate as well is the ex-TLR guys, Floss, MMX, Hoy, Regan, Emmy. Beve's listed as a sub, Ping as a coach. That's pretty cool to see. Obviously, Ping coming from the Coalesce team and whatnot. K10, that's the ex-Meows side, isn't it? Or something like that. And it clicks like Pence or whatever, you know.
Yeah, it was Pence,
Mate, I got there in the end. Obviously, we got the bin men. I'm not playing this one. Sorry, guys. I'm working. But, you know, I reckon there'll be a chance to see them get first rounded before I have to work. So that'll be fun. Bacon, I have
some teammate here is no wonder you've been dropped, mate.
No, the lads know it's all love at least. Syrah Stack is the only person I know from this team, if I'm honest with you. But these guys obviously are UK. The Arctic Raptors guys, Siren now, Trauto, God Kuze. I forget the team name that they were in before. Recognized Talent, right, where C60 was playing for them. So nice to see that they're still kicking at least. Just the lads, I have no clue. Just the lads. I have no clue who this side is, but again, like the level of competition is pretty high. Other than the bin men. If you want to join, obviously open quali, two teams get through to the main event, all on HLTV. It's pretty promising to join in, of course, and whatever. Not to mention they have a whole like regional circuit behind it as well that you can play in. So that's always pretty cool. Free to sign up, free to play, and a chance at 2K is not bad. HLTV is the big one though, so that'll be exciting for us to have a little watch about. And that happens on the first weekend of September. So September 2nd, the 3rd and the 4th. Sorry.
Okay. By the way, Ryan, are they using Mythic just because they need Core UK? Because I
Yes.
see Ents is playing too. Because he's been out for quite a while, isn't he?
Ents is part of the team again, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he?
And yes, because it was Jane and Nono that went up to Gen 1, right? So Jane and Nono went up to Gen 1. I think Ents is back playing. Ents, although Swedish, lives in the UK. And so Mythix is the 3rd player to complete the 3 UK core.
Okay.
All about the loopholes, isn't it? It's all about the loopholes.
I mean, listen, we had it in the Fantasy Expo qualifiers, didn't we? Where Endpoint had 2
the
UK
coach
and the coach, and that counted as
Yeah.
the 3. It was like, okay, man.
Oh, it was Fnatic, wasn't it?
They were the other team, weren't they?
No, because Fnatic
were
was UK core. It was the UK core at the time, right? With Smooya, Alex
I think they
Mezzi.
were UK core.
Yeah, it was Smooya,
No,
Alex
I think-
Mezzi. 100%. I remember this. Let me.
Oh.
All right. I'm fact checking
Yeah,
this.
fact
and I'm
checking.
like,
Because fair enough, it was just me, but you've got Dweg here as well saying,
I don't think they were 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
give us a sec.
One,
Was it
one
for
or
spring?
two
It
of
was,
us is
wasn't it?
spoofing. Yeah. Somebody's spoofing. We'll find out now.
all right. Give us a hot moment here. The British qualifier. 4 teams were invited. Well, 2 teams were invited. Endpoint. Oh, it wasn't even them. It was UMX. Nah, that can't be right. Nah. I'm not having this. It's spring. That's why. I've got to search for the summer one. All right. Hold on. Or the full one. I'm pretty sure that it was because they definitely played in one, right? Fnatic definitely played in one.
Yeah, they played in one.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm going backwards, I think, because
Just
now
not
this
as
has
the
got
core
Coalesce
three,
and Phoenix in the roster. So
I
clearly,
think you're going back to the right time, though, are you not? I think
I
it
thought
was.
so. Yeah.
yeah,
I think-
100%. But
But-
who knows?
Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
He's done himself. so we'll
I'm
just
still
move on,
looking.
I
I'm
think.
still
Yeah,
looking. Do you want me to move on to I-69, Josh? You can lead the charge while I figure out this.
Yeah,
I'm
we
gonna come
can
back
do,
in
we
a
can do.
moment and shut you all up real quick. So
Yeah.
all right, here we
Well,
go.
as-
There you go.
Yeah, go on.
Go
Ryan.
on. No. Go on. You
Going with
take
I
it.
series.
Yeah.
So the last I series was April time, around there this year already, and obviously it was the first land back. I think there'll be a lot of people that maybe didn't have the most positive experience, but hopefully this is going to be a much better one. You know, it's the second one back. I'd like to think that a lot of the feedback that was passed over is going to be taken on board, and you know, everyone is going to have a much smoother time. You know, hopefully the servers are all okay. You know, I know the admin team as well. So just hoping for this time around. You know, they've had the taste. Wasn't the best event that they could have put on. Now, okay, you've got to bounce back, because I think there would probably be a lot of teams from the last I series that would boycott, you know, sort of thing. It's a lot of money to get a plane over. Like I know for someone like you, Jack, it would be a travel and it would be a hotel. And if you don't drive, you know, how do you get to the hotel? And there are a lot of circumstances to it. So I think there will be quite a lot of teams from last I series that maybe don't come because of that. But if this I-Series does go very well, then for the next one, I think we'll get a lot more teams back. Now, as of right now, the signups are on the lower side. Last event, there was 27 teams. There's only 15 as of right now. So it'd be great if we could get 20, 25 plus, because as of right now, it is a small crowd.
Just to interject quickly about our last topic of conversation, it was both Fnatic and Endpoint that only had 2 UK players in their
That's
team.
right. That's what we both said. Yeah.
So we'll take that. We'll meet in the middle. I think everyone's a winner here.
Yeah. Whatever helps you sleep at night, mate.
Yeah. Let me have it, man. Let me have it. I thought it was my bad. Anyway. I-Series. Yeah, go I-Series. No, but you're right, Josh. I think that we are struggling a little bit on the team side of things. It's probably because people are playing it safe, right? Like last event, just to give a rough outline on what happened, the servers weren't very good. Took a long time for a fix to happen. The games didn't end up being on LAN. But I don't want to create excuses. It's their first LAN back. We can kind of sympathise with them a little bit because it was, you know, the 2.5 years that we were in lockdown, they didn't do any events. At least Epic LAN kept theirs up. They ran their events online. They still used their servers, whatever. So it was the first one back, didn't go great, but towards the end of the event, it was actually really good. And I remember watching the stage, and sort of for the finals at least, it was really, really promising stuff. So you know, maybe this is a bit of a short straw now to call for a week from now to say if you want to play in this event, do join. I think it's like what £100 and something a ticket per player, 5k prize pool guaranteed. We can bring up the teams. I think that'll be the next thing that we can do and have a little chat about is the level of competition that we have in this event. Again, slightly lower probably because of what happened last time, but I think there's a lot of no expectation in this event. There is definitely some teams that you're going to go, yeah, I know this team, they're probably going to win it. But sort of the middle of the pack, I think, is where things are going to get very interesting. Of course, this is a UK event, but as we'll quite quickly discuss and sort of discover, is that it's not just UK teams going.
I think it gives me a very similar vibe. I don't know if you guys saw much of the last Epic LAN, but obviously the middle of the year one, which not a lot of teams go to. We always find that middle of the year Epic is a little bit smaller, where you've got your higher end teams that you can automatically look at and say, okay, they're going to be decent. And then I think you've got the middle pack, which is going to be very competitive. So it's going to have a very similar vibe to the Epic. Like I look at this straight away and say, okay, Eco, they're probably the number one team here, like without a doubt. The Leicester 5 team, they are a mix, but they're going to be quite up there. Temperate, and then probably Shuby's team as well. Like they're the 4 that are screaming at me towards the higher end. But as for the rest, there's a lot of unknown players and teams that are actually attending iSeries.
I mean, it should be a whole lot of fun, man. I'm looking at a few of these names. I'm considering going myself. I know I was saying it to you before. Then I'm considering heading over. I mean, even if many more teams don't sign up, I know that you're kind of used to, you know, the 20. What was it, 27? You said last time.
Yeah,
like 27 is a lot. Like, but you know, you have to think as well, like Blackhand, they're going to be Blackhand, obviously, you know, they're not going to send them to Philadelphia and here as well. You know, ITB might or might not go. I'm not too sure actually. Are they going, or any news about that? But
I believe that they said on the last show that they're gonna go if they qualify for the RMRs beforehand. If not, then this overlaps with one of the RMR weekends, so they're not gonna go if they haven't qualified yet.
Oh, yeah. See, that's kind of iffy as well. Like, then I'm looking at it. I know Echo are definitely going, but like they'd obviously want to play in the RMR as well. So you wonder, is there a few more teams like that are maybe, you know, kind of just not going because of that, because they do kind of overlap. I don't know. I think even if nobody else signs up, it'll still be a decent LAN. I mean, it can't be a whole lot worse from what I've heard. You know, it didn't go very smoothly whatsoever. But man, sure, these things happen. And like you said, you know, if it actually does go well, it sets up I-70 for something even better. Do you know what I mean? I think maybe you might see 27, you might even break 30. You know, if the results come back and, you know, the reviews come back saying that it's gonna be like it was one of the better LANs. So I'm just hoping they're a little bit more prepared than last time.
I'm keen for the EU team as well. The East lot, I don't know how to say their name. The EC lot, they were there last time, and funny enough, Ryan, they've actually got the exact same lineup. So no roster changes since the last iSeries to this one. I think you've got Too High, which is like the North Macedonian player. I think he was filling in with Blue Jays in the qual. Nemi, I think he is like Norwegian. And I think there's a Czech player in there as well.
Yeah,
so
Shinigami plays for Isuba.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
Isuba youngster.
So, you know, they're bringing the same team. So that could be kind of cool, you know, not having anyone else, just the same 5.
Yeah. Nice to see that they're going to stick together as well. How well did they do in the last event? Does anyone know?
Not that great. They made playoffs, but they lost to Eco, I remember, in the first game. And then I think they lost to Blackhand in the lower bracket.
Oh,
so
man. So they got slaughtered,
did lose
yeah.
to, like, some decent teams to go out. But I don't think they went that far. They might have made top 12. That's probably where they went.
Sure. I mean, again, as you can see, there's 8 days, 14 hours until you got to check in. So I don't think there's much more to talk about here in I-69. £5,000 prize pool. hosted in the NEC in Birmingham. It's obviously in a week from now. Next Thursday is when you can get in. Friday the games start. It'll be pretty nice to see a couple more teams sign up, if I'm honest. Like, even if we don't hit 20, maybe just a couple more. Even if it's EU teams, you know, if anyone wants to get the cheap flight over, share an Airbnb, whatever. Like, you can definitely make money on this event if the team's good enough. And if you believe in yourself, then this is a good opportunity. I think UK CSGO, you know, we had a chat about this it's sort of off stream and whatever, Josh, but we've been seeing them do a lot of coverage on the Insomnia event, sort of the previous winners and whatnot. You know, we've had Henry G playing one of these, we've had Scream playing one of these. Like, we've had pretty decent names, like, not only just in sort of play in these tournaments, right? And they get results, they move on. I'm pretty sure Draken's played in one before, if I'm not mistaken. If maybe I might be wrong there, but definitely, like, we've seen Swedish teams play. We've seen, you know, across Europe, teams have joined this event. So, yeah, if there's interest there, I know things are going to start, like, amping up in price. So definitely check it out now if you haven't already. But yeah, that's the one for that. Anything else to add, gents, on iSeries? Maybe if we look at the 15 teams, does anyone want to add a quick prediction who's going to win?
I think everyone knows that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously the bin men.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
No, I think, yeah, it's safe to say Eco are going to win. But if anyone wanted to add anything else?
I think definitely the TLR, like, temperate guys, like, this could be the first time that they go really deep. Because I think that's something that maybe they've been missing in previous events, is having that chance to go really far. And this, I think, is ripe for the taking for them.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a good opportunity for them. Regan's really impressed me on that lineup. Like, he's not the most impressive up-and-coming player in the UK for me, but, like, I think he has quite a bit of potential, so it's nice to see him as potentially one of the favorites to make it deep in the event. I think it'll be cool to see what they can do, given that they just... I mean, I don't know much about Temperate, but it seems like they just re-signed or just signed with them or something like that, so it's... pretty cool to see some more support, and hopefully that'll pay off a little bit if they can get a nice little bit of the prize pool.
There you go. I've just read in on the Twitch chat. Arsis has said, Dweg, we're coming for you. Break the epic record. Now it's iSeries time. 41 knife kills and Zeus's. And then Tadpole asks, who's the guy in the bottom right? He's so dreamy, just want to kiss him. There you go. So there's some love for you as well. From the old Kirkles himself.
Yeah,
Mate, where's he playing in this event? Where's he playing in this event, Kirk? What's going on, man? I don't know.
Another mix? I mean, maybe like One Pin and I know One Pin, they're not really a team that attend too many LANs together, but One Pin and Spade, like, they should be here, right? Like, these are the two teams that if you're doing well on the online and you're getting HLTV representation, obviously it's difficult, right? Again, when you're in a position where, like, you're unsigned, you don't have an org, like, I get it. But at the same time, if One Pin and Spade are able to get here, you've got to come, because this is a great opportunity. Get the LAN experience, get on Liquipedia. Hopefully there'll be HLTV matches as well. So if, you know, they're worried, oh, well, is there going to be HLTV or not? There's a chance that they can even get more of a ranking to come to an event like this and to do well.
Yeah, I'd hope it gets HLTV, to be honest. I think it's a little bit of a disappointment that they wouldn't, you know, that they didn't get the last one, but yeah, I don't know. I think Echo are obviously clear favorites. Maybe not. I mean, somebody might do a job on them. Aris is getting a bit washed now, so he's playing too much with that Kirk fella. So, you know, he's rubbing off on him too much. But yeah, I don't know. I think I think it's silly if you don't have, like, if you do have the money and you can go, fair enough, like 100% go. But if you don't have the money, that is also very fair as well, because it is a little bit of a pricey one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a steep one. Like, but I think the price pool calls for it, right? Like, Epic LAN tickets, I mean, what their price was like 2.5k, and the tickets are still like 70-80 quid. So I think, you know, if you were gonna make a UK event in terms of prize pool and competitiveness, definitely iSeries is the one. Go on, Frog.
Just to add as well, actually, I think, wasn't it the last iSeries that Azu really kind of made a name for himself, right? I could be mistaken.
Yes.
Maybe I'm confusing events.
Good event, but I think he was kind of known a little bit by that point.
Yeah, I think...
could be because I'm still learning, but I feel like he, you know,
are right, yeah.
He showcased some good stuff, and I mean, look at him now. Look at him on One Pin, right? I don't know if there's a direct correlation of him performing, getting a bit more traction, and then getting invited to join like a slightly better team, but I don't know. It's a good opportunity for players, even at a grassroots level, to showcase what they're made of. Potentially, like, you have some really good stats. It gets talked about within the scene, and you get a shot on a like semi-professional team, and then from there you
Yeah,
can really like build a career off of that.
it's true.
He looked good at the last Epic when he was playing with Matt's team, didn't he? When then they made top 3 at
Yeah.
the last Epic there. I mean, even Wolfie was playing in one of the mixes as well. So there's definitely been some representation on like a couple of mixed teams here or there. But yeah, getting more teams signed up for iSeries, I think is gonna be more beneficial for everyone in the long run.
Yeah, I think we can move on to roster changes, discuss a couple here, Josh, and wrap things up. Obviously, going for an hour and a half already or so. So
yeah, we'll get into some of the big ones.
We'll jump into a few. I think there's a lot to talk about. The roster shuffles continue. I think now there's going to be a lot less heading into the RMR qualifiers and stuff, but sort of a lot has been unraveled in the last week or so, Josh, that we can definitely talk about and have a little chat about. Where do we start is the big question, because my God, is there a fair few to go through?
Yeah. Well, I think obviously Fnatic Rising, they made the change, didn't they? Bringing Depression and Shedden in, and look what's happened. Very quickly have they been able to get their way up the ladder to win the whole Academy League. I mean, you might look at that as being one of the best roster changes that has happened in the last month or so, just off of the basis of what has been rewarded after that coming in. The one surprise that I had was the Apex move. I don't know if you guys all that keen on it. You're happy, a bit average, but Apex are getting a lot of, I would say, like ex tier 1 players. Okay, maybe you could put Shox as like a tier 1 player now, but then you've got someone like the
Stico
Norwegian
and
as well, Jacob. Like, he's played at a tier 1 level before. Now he's going back to tier 2. Stico as well when he was on Mouseport. So you've got a lot of experienced guys on this team. What do you think of the lineup?
I mean, I think it's really good in that sense. I think it's cool from Apex as an org to try to like establish themselves a bit better by bringing in someone like Shox. Inevitably, you're going to bring in a lot of eyes. But in terms of like the competitiveness of this team, I don't know. I think this is kind of like a transitionary roster for them. Like, and I'm not sure where they're transitioning to, quite frankly. But the guys on this team, I mean, I'd have to check the average age, but they're quite old. Like their youngest star player is JL, who's what 22 or something. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know how much longevity this lineup has. I think Stico transitioning to an IGL is really good for him. I don't think we'll see results immediately, but I think like as a career move, that's a good option for him. Bringing in Shox, it's good. I think it'll help to kind of like structure the team a bit. I think Jacob has a good few years left in him. Like this team should do okay, but I don't necessarily see them being a top 10 team anytime soon, right? And I don't know that they can break out of like just being stuck in the top 30, maybe top 20 with this specific lineup.
I think I can't see them going much further than top 30 towards the end of the year. Like, the thing is you think back to even the previous years. Like, obviously this is a very stacked lineup, but other than Gambit youngsters, no tier 2 team has been able to transition into tier 1. Maybe the likes of Entropic and the Movistar Riders are on that like boundary, right? But that is such a select few teams out of the monsters that we've got in and around the top 50. So for Apex, I reckon they're going to have to work really hard if they want to like push themselves into consistently being top 30, top 20, trying to get some tier 1 events. I think it'll be tough for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the roster moves are probably needed though as well. I mean, getting Asilian out. I think they picking up Chelsea and putting him in the wrong role, to be honest, was just absolutely fucking madness. I don't know what was going on there. Whoever like gave the green light on that move, go have a walk. Something needs to be done there, because I don't know if this is the thing I have about Chelsea as well. I don't know if his stock is going to be damaged by that Apex lineup, because he did nothing. Let's be real. He was very bang average. But Chelsea, when he was actually opping, he was not average at all. He was absolutely rolling teams pretty much single-handedly in his previous team. What were they called?
Savage and GXR, right?
Savage, Savage and Galaxy Razor, but he was absolutely just destroying people on the op. And then I remember looking at it and I was like, oh, is he hopping? I was confused. It's like, is he hopping over Knock? And then I got to cast him one game and I was like, oh, Knock's hopping. Chelsea's just there for secondary op, maybe. I was like, I don't know. He did turn out to be the secondary op, but I don't know, man. That move confused me completely. I think the Sharks' pickup is a really good pickup, but as you said, I don't know if they're gonna get past top 30 really. I think they are getting on a little bit. A lot of them. I checked the average age there. It's what 26.6. So that's you're coming to your autumn years, definitely, a few of them. So I don't know. Maybe it's a 6 month kind of to a year project. Hope for the best. Hope they can get some decent results. Maybe go far in the RMR qualifier. I know that's the main goal right now. Do I see them getting to the RMR? Probably not. I think there's like at least 10, 12, maybe even 16 teams that are ahead of them right now. But yeah, only time will tell, to be honest with that one.
I want to talk about Falcons because obviously they've made changes and they've just made the RMR. They benched Kios. I think Kyojin was having like a wrist injury or something like that for a little while, so it feels like he's just gone now. No matter if his injury gets better or not, there's already 5 on the team, so see you later, I guess. MBK and Masuda, bringing in some top players, bringing in a lot of experience there, and they found the success immediately. They just lost into the grand final of the qual, which is obviously for seeding. Even that was very close against Sprout. So already this is a good opportunity to see what they can do on LAN. As for Kios, I don't know where he goes. Does he maybe join Amanek on LDLC? Does he hang around to see what happens? I don't see Heat making another change. Maybe he goes back to CIS because obviously before he joined these LDLC and Falcons guys, he was playing with K23 and Simon. So he was brought up in the CIS scene.
Yeah, I've always liked Chaos. I think he's like just such an interesting piece in that he speaks like English, French, and Ukrainian slash Russian because I believe he's of Ukrainian descent. So it's like he's got a lot of options in that sense, but it is just a bit weird in that like I don't think his benching was deserved. I think he did fine, but I guess that's also just kind of what Falcons was, right? They just brought in a lot of the hopes of the French scene that for a long time just kind of didn't live up to expectations, and it was the same with this, right? Like Maka and Haji. I mean, Haji's been the next up and coming French player since 2016. So like, I don't know. I think bringing in BK is absolutely phenomenal because he's the kind of player that can unlock that potential and actually get you to the next level. And we're already seeing that. I think Misuta is an interesting pickup. I'm sad that Kyojin's gone because like seeing the core of Misuta, Kyojin, and Python would have been great in my opinion, given that they're all the Wonder Kids alongside Nivira back in the day. So seeing that trio kind of broken up, yet so close yet so far is a little bit heartbreaking from like a storyline perspective. But I don't know. This team has a lot of potential. I think there's a lot that they could do, and with LDLC also kind of eyeing this like whole developing youngsters angle with some veteran players like Amanek and experienced people at the helm like Lambert. It's pretty cool to see like this kind of race for talent in France right now, and hopefully like finally catching up because there's such a big disparity between tier 1 and 2 and 3 really in France.
See if it benefits moving forward. Another one, I think we actually spoke about it, Ryan, off stream as well, with the Sangul teasing it that they were getting a Swedish player. And I was like, all right, well, there's Fuzi and there's Era, and I don't know, that's kind of it. So they ended up getting Fuzi on loan. They were obviously at the RMR last time around. I think they haven't been at the height of tier 2. You've got some good players on there. You got an experienced IGL in Skrunk. Maybe this is the piece that they're looking at. I don't know how strong they can be, but obviously they realize they're not where they should be and that changes need to keep coming. I think it was Sensei had like military service or something when we spoke about it on the last show, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it.
So yeah, I don't know about them. Like maybe they'll be like a top 50 team ish. I don't know how high they could be if they can qualify to the RMR again. Obviously those open quals are just death. But if you got an opportunity to go to LAN, it might help them out. I mean, obviously with Ecstatic, the thing that surprised me, obviously they needed an AWPer, but Dafu gone as well. Like it feels like this is a complete rebuild. The fact that Manx is the only original player now from that ecstatic side. You brought a lot of guys over from Masonic. They've brought Bruiser over as well, which we spoke about that he was playing on Astralis Talent. I think this roster is going to take some time to get anywhere near where the last ecstatic team was.
For sure. I mean, Manx IGL'd in the past. I can't remember what team it was. Was it like maybe Copenhagen Flames or something like that? So he has some experience. Or maybe it was initially on Lingby before they rebranded. I can't remember exactly. And I think he did pretty well at the time. Like as a fragging IGL, he was still putting up decent numbers. But this team is just like the former Masonic boys. I mean, obviously they just brought in a trio, but even Bruiser was previously on a Masonic as well. So it's just, I don't know. Like I feel like it's a bit of a step back for the organization, but maybe like a good step forward for Denmark to have another org that's actually like, okay, investing in the tier 2 scene again, because it felt like a few orgs were starting to pull out, like Singularity, for example. I don't really have that many expectations for this team. I love Kragan, and I think that he's gonna like be an absolute beast in the future, one of the like big rising gems in Denmark. But overall, like I'm not expecting them to really like qualify for the RMR or really put up insane numbers from the get-go.
Jack, before I rip in about Copenhagen Flames, I want to get your opinion on it first. What do you think of these changes?
I mean, I don't know, to be honest. It was a little bit of a shock to see Bird from Sky just saying that he was gonna leave and basically start a whole new team, because Ecstatic were at the top of the tier 2 for fucking ages, man. Like they were dominating a lot of things, a lot of games, a lot of tournaments. But like, I can understand from that kind of point of view why they wanted to make the changes. They kind of hit a little bit of a ceiling. They want to go to that next level. I think Regali's a really good pickup, to be honest. I think Regali, if Burke from Sky can, make him fit into the team, play around him as the star player, I think it'll be really good. But I don't know, they had a really disappointing RMR, to be honest. Like I was even laughing, I was saying it to Ted, I was like, Burke from Sky, he built this new team, Copenhagen Flames, and Ecstatic finished ahead of them in the RMR, in the open qualifier. I'd say that must sting a little bit, but I don't know. I think it's a strange one, to be honest. I don't really have an opinion of it yet because I haven't watched them too much. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those ones that if it works, fair enough. But if it doesn't work, like you can kind of see the issues with it already.
Yeah, definitely in my eyes, there's a lot of IGLs on this team, Frog. You've
That
got
there are.
TMB, who was the IGL of X-Mad Lions, who got a
Yep.
lot of praise from when we spoke to Red Star, when we spoke to Warro, when we spoke to JL. Great IGL, really gives us a lot of freedom, gives us a lot of room. Okay, you've got Rouse. Oh, yeah, just IGL Sprout. Let's bring him over as well. Oh, yeah, Bird from Sky's another IGL. So you got 3 IGLs on this one team. And I wonder, is it like the OG situation in the past of just too many cooks in the kitchen? You talk about the likes of the Ecstatic team and the Lingby. You've got these young, talented riflers. And yet instead of going in that direction of the youth, we've got 3 IGLs. Now, obviously, Regali, I ended up sending him a message. He does speak Danish. So that does clarify a bit that he doesn't just speak like English and Romanian. He does speak Danish. So the language barrier, I don't think is going to be an issue. But the issue I have is there's just so many IGLs on this team.
I kind of agree with you. I mean, I made a whole video like a month and a half ago, maybe, about like what I thought Copenhagen Flames could do, right? And the roster I came up with was TMB, but I had him as an IGL. As well as I think it was Fessor, Acor, Sandin, and Kragan. Because I kind of wanted to take elements of like the previous teams. Kragan was going to be like my Yabi equivalent supportive player. I think they've done a really good job in the past of like taking up players whose stocks have kind of gone down, right? You think of Tesses after Optic or Mertz, and bringing them back up to snuff, right? So like same thing with Acor there. And bring in like a bit of like veteran player like Sandin, and then I wanted the firepower of Fessor as well as TMB as like a good up and coming IGL. This team, I think it's good. I think it'll do all right. Like Regali's firepower is there. He's been living in Denmark for like the last 4 or 6 years or something like that. So I don't have any questions in terms of communication. I think that'll go fine. I'm not too worried for like too many cooks in the kitchen, just because it kind of felt like Rouse did it in Sprout just because no one else could. So I'm happy to just see him go back to rifling role. I don't think there's going to be too much butting heads. And in a way, I'm actually kind of glad that TMB is not calling and that it's Bird from Sky, because like Bird from Sky, you know, did like more with Ecstatic than, you know, was really like there, I feel, right? Like it was greater than the sum of its pieces. And I think he can probably do that again with Copenhagen Flames. And if TMB can kind of develop under him as an IGL, I think that's even better for like the longevity of this roster. So I don't know. I think it's all quite good. Bring in Borup as well. Yeah, sure. You know, he's got some experience. I don't know. I think that the team will do okay. It's not going to immediately like place top 8 at a major, but I think for the long run, this team's actually pretty good.
See, the way that I look at it, right, is I think from Bird from Sky, he has built teams up from the absolute pits, and so have Copenhagen Flames in the past. This lineup to me already speaks, we want top 30 tomorrow. We want top 30 next week. Now, you think about that Lingby team back in the day, mate, they were dogging it. They were down at such a low level for a very long time before they started finding success. And even for Copenhagen Flames, a lot of their rebuilds have been around young players, around top 100 on HLTV, and then you rise up the ranks. The issue that I perhaps have with this team is, are they setting the boundaries too quickly? Because you've got a lot of top players on this team from the get-go rather than a build from the bottom up.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Frog. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, it's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there might be a little bit of that, but I would say there's going to be maybe like 2-3 months where they've got a little bit of a, you know, honeymoon phase. Do you know what I mean? So they've, you know, it doesn't really matter what results they get. I think they will give it time, regardless of what happens. But yeah, I think definitely Bird from Sky calling in this team is a must, because man, I honestly, I'm of the opinion, I think he's magic, to be honest. The way he's got, like, where he got from the teams that he's had, and like you said, they were in the pits, they were getting absolutely rolled for a long time, and then all of a sudden this team came out absolutely out of nowhere thanks to his call. And yes, okay, there was a few incredible riflers and some good operas as well along with him, but you know, it's absolutely no use having the star players. Like, look at G2, there's absolutely no use having the star players if you don't have the player that's gonna call. You know, it's just not gonna work. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting, but it's one of those ones that you won't really know until maybe you'll get a rough idea maybe in the next 2 months, 3 months time. I'm waiting to see what invites they get as well, because what they strike me as, especially, you know, like in the tier 2 scene, they strike me as maybe, would they be main Swiss invites? Let's say, you know, if you're like your relogs, do you think would they
roughly
main Swiss, or would you think they'd be like the high playoffs invites?
Nah, I think main 100%.
Nah,
I think give it time. I think if they can get some decent results in the main Swiss and consistently make the playoffs, then I think the HLTV ranking will speak for itself more than anything. But I don't know. I think this. I don't get this roster entirely. I think the triple IGL thing, it's going to end in tears one way or another. I think that. With the TMB idea, you know, he did very well on X Mad Lions, having a chat to the XML boys as well. Bird from Sky, he's always been a really good IGL. We saw it in Ecstatic, how well he did, and you know, his persistence to the game and his calling. I don't know, when you look at the rest of the side, you know, when we see the other IGLs, your Rules and your TMB, Rules never really striked me as an impact player. You know, I don't think he ever struck me, even when he wasn't IGLing, never struck me as a player that could turn a game around, right? And neither does TMB. I think calling for both of those players is what made them good tier 2 players, was that they could call but still frag. But now you've taken away half of their, you know, so-called personality of Counter-Strike. Are we going to see TMB and Rawls both put up numbers equivalent to what they would if they weren't IGLing in previous teams? I think that's a big ask. I like Regali moving up to this roster, though. I think that's a big pickup. And I think Borup as well is someone that can get overlooked at times. So it's nice to see that he's found a home alongside it. But yeah, I don't know. I think for the Copenhagen Flames organization, they must know something that I don't, because I'm not a fan of the triple IGL setup. And I don't think when you bring on 3 IGLs that, you know, not the flashiest individuals, but more commended on their IGLing ability, I think that's where the real problem lies for me. And I think we need to see, a night and day change in the rules and TMB setup in terms of how well they play on an individual level. I think stats is going to be a big thing for me with those two.
And do you know what? Yeah, go on, Jack. Have you got anything to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like if it doesn't work out, I mean, it's not like the Danish scene is struggling for new talent. Do you know
Yeah,
what
that
I mean?
is
It's
true.
not. It's not
Spew
like
it.
you're in. It's not like you know what I mean. So you could look at the likes now. This is all hypothetical. If people play nice and whatever, and there isn't people not agreeing with each other, and I don't want to play with him and all that bollocks before we go down that road. But like you could look at your Fesser. That could be another pickup that they could go for. They could take a chance on him if it doesn't work out, and with some of these players, they could maybe Bird from Sky could bring his old mate Dafu back in, because I thought Dafu was actually quite all right. I thought he had his moments in a lot of games. He definitely stepped it up at the beginning of the year when I was looking at him. He was averaging near like 1.1, 1.2. He was actually fragging out, to be honest. So I don't know. I think it might get to a situation where there is too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many ideas bouncing around, and nobody, instead of following one person's idea, everybody's, yeah, but we could do this, and yeah, but we could do that, and all of a sudden the round's over. Do you know what I mean? And that could be the situation, and maybe a disagreement down the line, but I don't think they're gonna struggle to find anybody to replace some of those people, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, if we think about some of the other Nordic teams, Kova, I think they're a team that a lot of people know. If you follow Tier 2 scene, they might not be the flashiest of Tier 2 teams. They play structured CS, they play by the book. Twixie retires from that team and retires from CSGO overall. I think he put out a tweet longer that he might be back. He's going to take some time to himself. He's been a part of this team for a very long time, so probably deserves a bit of a break to maybe think about what's next. They get Otto, who obviously had a very good 2018, had a very good sort of 2017. You think about the whole crazy Valiants, like the Contact, like that sort of time period. He was unreal. He's definitely been more quiet since maybe the 2020 version of Contact and from where we are today, but he's got an opportunity to go back. Obviously, he was playing on Havu. You've got Smiley as well. He was on Havu. They've gone over towards Kova. So we'll see if this team can break the boundaries, because I think we'll probably know, Jack, that they play in a lot of these events, but they're never a team that go deep. They're never a team that make the playoffs. They're always out in regional Swiss. They're always out in main Swiss. And while tactically they play very good Counter-Strike, they've just lacked individuals for a very long time in my eyes.
I cast him there on Monday, I think it was, against Alu's team. It was the first game in the contender stage for the Elisa, and there was, it was, a 16-11 on Nuke and a 16-13 on Mirage. Didn't blow me away, but I'll be honest, they never really do. It's a very early game as well, so it could have been that I was half asleep for it. But no, I don't know. I wasn't too impressed with that early show, and I think that Yano team it's a whole lot better than Kova. But yeah, it might be another one of those situations where it is just going to take time. I like Smiley and Otton. They're good players that they are going to bring in. They're obviously going to improve the lineup, but it's just about when are they going to improve the lineup? When is it going to click? And, if they can actually go a little bit deeper. I wonder what the end goal is for these kind of teams as well, because like you said, they get invited to contender stages of Elisa. They might get a regional Swiss invite, usually in a relog event, but in the Swiss stage, it's a 1-3. Do you know what I mean? They might win one game, but they get absolutely turned over by everybody else that they play against. So I don't know. I don't know where it's gonna go. I'm not too excited about those, to be honest.
What do you think, Frog? Anything on them or?
I kind of agree. For me, Kova's always been a team that just had like one player that would do pretty well, right? Like Dodo in the past, or Spargo, or most notably for me, Dirkefs, who now just goes by Dirk and plays for Fnatic and Valorant. It was always just kind of like that feeder team. They develop one player, he moves on to something else, and that was it. I think they've got like a decent trio now with Auto, Smile, and ZKS, but like even then, the firepower's missing. It's at least compared to a team like Havu or Ents Academy, even in my opinion. So I don't know. We'll see, but I'm not expecting all too much from them.
Okay. Koana making changes. I don't know how they're top 50 on HLTV. I don't know what has happened with the ranking points because they've literally made one win against Strife in conference and kind of got bombed out by everybody else. And when they won Meisterschaft to get that conference spot, it was a completely different team. Dennis joins them, so they're now core German, which probably means that they can keep playing in Meisterschaft and try and get back to conference. Haven't seen Dennis for a while, so I don't know,
No.
still hanging about, trying to see if he can play at a fairly high tier 2 level, but I don't know, it doesn't excite me massively, this change, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they do. I mean, again, they'll probably make conference again because I think they're strong enough locally to consistently like come out of Meisterschaft as number one. But what they can do on the EU circuit is going to be another discussion. Another EU team, Partisan. Couple of guys from Coalesce on this team. You got Emmy and Sasul. Collins, who actually really impressed me. He's an IGL from Serbia. Mate, he hits so hard. He's a very good rifler. Knowing that Emmy could be calling and he's going to take a step back, that might even unleash the beast even further. Kaluba, we saw him playing on Fiend. No, it was Skade. It was Skade. It wasn't Fiend. And then you've got Rogger as well. I'm not too familiar with Rogger. I don't know. You've got some good pieces on this team. I don't know how much potential there is.
I gotta agree with you. Collins was like an absolute fucking monster on For Glory. And hopefully, I mean, Emmy is probably the most experienced Serbian IGL, right? And then they've got like that Balkan core with Roga. Roga's all right. I'd say he's one of the better players from Croatia, but that's not necessarily saying too much given that's not like a huge scene. I think it'll do okay, but I'm not expecting all too much from them. I think it's kind of underwhelming to have like I don't know, like they hyped it up quite a bit, and I think it'll just be an average middle of the pack team. I'm not really expecting them to do all too much. If they make a few more roster changes, maybe, but it will take time.
If even they're an average team, to be honest. I don't know. That doesn't excite me at all. I'm still kind of confused at the Emmy pickup. I remember looking at it from a Coalesce point of view when Emmy kind of joined that roster. And I was like, on Fun Plus Phoenix, I remember doing it up. He was there for a year. He played 30 officials in a year, which when you're not playing advanced games, you're not playing, like he was in FPX who were only getting, they were only playing invited teams or HLTV events, and he had 30 officials. I was kind of looking at that and going, okay, so he's not playing all that much, then goes into that lineup. We all know how that went. You may forget about that one, and then joining this one, Sassel's a good player. Caliber, he didn't excite me too much when he was on Fate. Don't know too much about Roga. Collins is a very good player. I'd hold him in a really high regard, but I don't know, man. This team just doesn't scream like it's gonna do anything. It might be kind of one of those teams that'll get a few invites here and there to an event, but maybe a 2-3 in a Swiss system at best.
Yeah, across the pond, if we look over at North America and South America, I think we briefly spoke about it on the last episode, Ryan, but the Phelps team costing like 600k or something like that, so fair bit of money in that one. You got Woody from MIBR, you got Phelps, and you got VSM, so you got a core three that are quite well known. Oplano gets a new lineup as well. K&G's back there. Nikes as well. Yell, I'm still surprised he's about, to be honest. I mean, I remember Yell from like 6-7 years ago playing on Luminosity Gaming, but he's still here. Payne, I think we spoke about it when we had Bowden on, where we weren't sure what they were going to do. They've picked up Zevies and Skulls, so they've got their 5 for ECL this season. Team 1 got Malbs back. I mean, you feel for Malbs. He was unreal on that team. He leaves to go to Double O Nation, and it's just nothing like he thought it would be. So at least he's got a home to go back to. But the one that kind of interested me the most is the Davenport University getting an Estonian player that I believe was playing on the Latvian Lions squad. You got like them and SC as like the 2 Estonian teams. Maybe Frog, you can give us a little bit more of an insight to DU, but they're starting to get like more non-North American players, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know all too much. I meant to speak to Koi sooner or later to get a bit of a bigger idea of what they're doing with Davenport. But they've got Swisher, who was on Levadia E-Lines, as you said, and to me, he was the standout player of that team throughout that team's history. Um, so it's really cool to see him join. Like it's nice that Koi is actually going and scouting out like not just super well-known players because they're also meant to get Sonic, obviously the South African player. Um, and from what I understand, they're meant to kind of get some more imports for the different divisions because they have, this team that's now playing in ECL, but they have a team in Advanced, and I think the other teams in maybe Intermediate or Open or something like that. So they've got a few different teams. I think in the future they're looking to maybe make a female team as well. Like it's cool. They've really got a good vision for things. And I think the fact that it's like a collegiate team is also what's the most different because like I was thinking about this a bit earlier today, but NA is just really in a weird place in terms of tier 2, tier 3. Everyone kind of knows that, but it's just not economically viable. And because this is like a completely different business model, you're a school essentially, you're getting students. Maybe this is the way to kind of move forward in NA, or at least one of the ways to, and actually develop um, the players of the future. And I think Koi has a lot of control and a lot of say in that. He has experience from working with Maus. He has worked over in Europe, and I think he's kind of the right guy for the job. He gets to choose players that he knows. Okay, like if I'm putting in 10,000 hours with this guy, I know that I'm actually developing somebody, right? I'm not just going to pick up some random player that has like good stats but has a terrible attitude. He actually gets to see the bright stars of tomorrow and actually like develop players that are worth developing, that have the right attitude, that are hungry, and that want to get better, that actually have some accountability, and bringing in over like EU players like Swisher and stuff like that. Sure, it's not like Swisher has a ton of experience, but he still brings in like a better work culture, I think, that than a lot of NA pros. So it's I don't know. I think this is a big W overall, to see DU trying all these things, and actually like I think it'll have a really positive impact on the scene in the years to come.
Now, Frog, you mentioned female teams that, there could be a potential down the line. CLG Red go international. I think CLG Red has been like at the forefront for female CS for years now, right? Like they've
Pretty
always
much,
been
yeah.
the team that people know. They're always a team that do very well. They got Bibian, who is an Australian player that had played in quite the last ESL Impact event, and she's really good. She's been scouted
Yeah.
out for a while now. I think they got a French player as well. So I think they're
Yep.
still core North American, but obviously they're like going a little bit more international, which I think is great, and giving some more international experience to some of the players. Order, if we talk about OCE, obviously they parted ways with Hats. I don't think that would have been easy. Hats had been a part of that core for a very long time, and I think if you know the Order guys on a personal level, they're all very good friends, and that sometimes makes it even more difficult to cut players. I mean, you probably know something about that, Jack. Like when you're all very close, when it comes to the chopping block, it's not an easy decision. But they part ways with Hacks. They bring in Vexai, and I think Vexai has been looked at as an unreal up and coming
Oh, yeah.
talent. He's played on Order before. And then we get this news yesterday or today that they're going into voluntary administration. I don't know if you can bring that up, that link, Ryan, for us to have a look at, because that is a massive hit to OCE right now.
Yeah, it's really disappointing to see. I was super hyped for this roster. Like, Vexite's been a fucking beast. Like, if you've not really followed OCCS:GO, like I remember when lockdown started happening and all that. Like at the start of 2020, I messaged Elfish guy and I was like, "Hey, do you know anything about this Vexite kid? Because I think he was rumored to join Chiefs or something at the time." And I was like, "No, like he's some young kid up and coming. He's got some decent stats, but don't know too much about him." And he's just been an absolute fucking beast since then, right? Like he's the future of the scene. So to see him, get the opportunity to actually play with this team is super cool. But obviously the news with Order is a little bit worrying.
And just knowing again, like from the OCE scene, Order have been at the forefront for not only CS:GO but in other titles too.
Yeah.
They actually had the core. So basically, the joke used to be back in the day that all the Renegades players were just from Order. The Order just kept developing these players. They would go over to Renegades, they come back to Order, and then this drops. Now it seems like there is hope that that it can get bought out and that there is the Order org that could potentially be taken over by somebody else. But if it is the other direction, this is a massive blow, and I think it could be very, very difficult for the scene for them to be able to come out on top, because Order is the number one team. I mean, for Renegades, obviously they don't have an org at the moment. I wonder if they jump at the opportunity. Obviously, the guys were from Renegades, they went to Order. Now, you know, you might be the number one org in OCE. Obviously, Renegades are like Detroit based in America, but they've been doing OCE teams for forever. Whether they get them back, whether Chiefs come in, because I mean, I remember Chiefs, like they obviously were playing at the IM Sydneys. We haven't seen that lineup or that org in CS for quite a while. Just like a Tainted Minds icon, I know that they've like been merging. Do they bring someone up? I don't know. I don't know what the next direction is, but to me, this is a no-brainer, at least for a signing, because these guys will always make the major. These guys will always be at conference or EPL. Like, they're good enough locally and they're decent enough internationally to get those tier one opportunities. Yeah, this year's been a bit disappointing for the OCE team, and I think they can say themselves it definitely has not been like previous years, but they're always going to those events. I really hope that there is resolution with this whole situation.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's really sad seeing stuff like that, because they are a good team, and like you said, you know, it is one man's trash is another man's treasure. Do you know what I mean? Like yeah, it's bad that Order kind of, you know, their ceasing operation. What are they, ceasing operations, or are they going into administration? Administration?
I don't know. The owner just
Administration, I
left.
think.
It just it was
Yeah.
just a bit weird.
Just a bit of a weird one, but like, you know, yeah, really good pickup for the investment. You know, if somebody wants to invest in a team that is gonna actually, you know, continue to get results, and you know, if you are the top dog in the Australia, you know, in the OC scene, if you are the top dogs in Australia, you know, you will usually get a major. You'll usually get at least, you know, one or two victories, especially with this lineup, because there isn't a bad player on that lineup, to be honest. You know, looking at that, they can 100% get a result and maybe even upset a few teams, you know, in the next major. I don't know. It's always shit to get that news. Like it's always a bit upsetting. But hopefully somebody buys them out. I mean, that'd be the perfect world, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. We had Han on a previous episode, Ryan, and he was saying, you know, Stinks is doing pretty well. He's an all right teammate, but he's gone. He's out of here. So they brought in System. They brought in Sandon as a coach. Was this expected? I mean, Enterprise have been doing fairly well recently. Like, I didn't really see it coming.
Yeah, I think to summarize this one very quickly, I did not expect this roster move to happen. Everyone seemed very happy in this roster. Enterprise was still on the up when this change was made. Obviously, it was in player break, so I don't know. It's a mixed bag of emotions. You know, maybe it's to, I don't know, stick to roots more. But I thought they were pretty in tune with that already. I don't know. Maybe he's got another opportunity elsewhere, but yeah, I'm shocked that this happens. There's clearly a reason that we don't know. Hopefully we see it soon. But yeah, I'm spun.
Yeah, I think you wanted to see Sandon keep playing, right, Frog?
I did, yeah. I mean, yeah, I had him much like Fessor and stuff on my like prospective Copenhagen Flames roster, because I think he's that good, right? Like, he's a bit older, much like Rouse is, but I think he's still putting up numbers. He has good experience and stuff. Seeing him turn to coaching, it's, you know, it's not outrageous. I can see him doing well in that sense. And he then did reply to my tweet saying like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, you know, this is just like a step in my career, but I definitely see myself returning to playing down the line. So that's good news, I suppose. But kind of just out of the blue, like I really did not expect this, and I feel like he still has a lot that he can offer as a player.
100%. If you weren't going to bring it up, I was so surprised, because, you know, to be honest, I think Sandon would walk into that team ahead of everybody. Like, that's how good of a player he is, and I don't know why he's thought that he needs to go to coaching, because definitely I think he still does have, you know, a little bit in him. I'd love to see him join a team and give a go at it, because the fella is absolutely incredible. Like, his mechanics, you know, they're definitely not slowing down anytime soon. He stood in for, I can't remember what team it was. I think it could have been Abe. I remember I was casting it, and this fella, he stood in. He had like 28 kills in one game and like 32 in the other, and they 2-0'd him very quick, and he was just like, he was pugging it out and he was farming them. Whoever they were playing against, I don't know who it was, but you know, we didn't see very much of them. It was a very, very quick game. So yeah, that's a little bit of a shock for me, to be honest. But Yeah, I would agree with you there, Frog, mate. I think 100% he could definitely get back into the server and maybe give, something more than he's given in coaching. I think he's wasted a little bit there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing something right with the invites. I don't know who the manager is on that team, but I swear, Enterprise play every bloody event under the sun. They get into every tournament that's listed on HLTV. So we'll see what the changes mean. I mean, Honorous as well, they've made some changes. You've got Pact as well, like all with the shuffle. Nine has obviously just developed a new team, so a lot of Polish shuffles as of right now. Bates brought in Amster and Alex666. I think the Alex guy, Ryan, was playing on that Bondic team that lasted 22 days. So
Hellraisers
was,
beforehand, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what they're like. iNation, they parted ways with their roster, so maybe a couple of good pieces here or there. I mean, especially Dav has been around for quite a while. Holmes too.
Yeah.
If they can try and go over to like another team in that sort of area. Sprout signing Xiphon and getting Refresh to Heroic. I mean, this is obviously quite a big one. And they've qualified to the RMR already.
Yeah, I was
Any
gonna
early
say.
thoughts on this team?
Save the best to last. I think my opinion is short and sweet here. I think very promising pickups. I'm not on the train just yet. I think the honeymoon phase, like we saw the previous iteration of Sprout go on, could very much be mimicked here. But I must say, the last time we saw Sprout on that honeymoon period, the roster did not look as good as this one.
Yeah. I'm just going to highlight some of the other casters that made tweets out of it. Obviously, all in humor, of course. Travis put in the performances of how they did. Like, obviously, they did very well. Like, they steamrolled a lot of teams. I think their first 5 best of ones weren't against anyone known. They 16-8'd Entropic and then 16-2, 16-9 versus Ecstatic. And, he's saying, we want to see these guys on LAN. Even Neokai, someone that you might know, Ryan, said they won't be in tier 2 for long.
That guy needs to shut up. He needs,
how,
yeah, I don't know, man. He needs to
how
thin
are we making
it down.
comments to say that these guys are like the scariest team in tier 2 when they've played Entropic and a brand new Ecstatic in one open qualifier? Like, we've got to give them more sample size. We've got to see what they're like at the RMR. Yeah. We've got to see what they're like in an Alyssa. We've got to see what they're like in some of these pinnacle events. Like, seeing what they've done so far, look, it's the first step, right? It gets to the RMR, you get that opportunity on LAN. But this is way too early to say that they're the scariest team in tier 2.
Nah, man, get them into an Elisa, get them into, a Swiss stage, get them up against, an esports club Kiev, and then we'll see, who's the top dogs, I don't know. Like, Entropic don't look that great, at the moment either. I don't know what's going on with them, to be honest. I think Alien's dropped off massively, so that result I can kind of understand why they're getting a 16-8. I mean, they got a good result against Maus and Falcons, but again, Falcons is a new team. Maus, yeah, okay. I'm not going to take out. Maus is a great result,
But they're the seeding games, to be fair, Jack. So...
Yeah, that's another thing as well. Do you know what I mean? Like the game against Ecstatic, that's a brand new roster that you're 2-0, and fair enough. I want to see more from them, to be honest. I want to see like a Swiss stage and see how well they get on, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on them, Frog?
I mean, I think there's definitely firepower on that lineup. Like, everyone can frag, but I don't know how I feel about like a weird. I mean, it's just Sprout again teetering between, oh, look, for these 3 months of the year we're going to be German, and oh, now we're Danish again, and like it's just, I feel like there's always just a bit of a weird identity crisis in Sprout. Refresh IGLing could work, could also go really terribly in the long run. I don't know. Xiphon, Stair, and Launex are that's an insane trio of really young but like super talented riflers. And Slacks is a good offer. I heard a rumor that they were considering even picking up Acor, and I don't know how true that is. It might be complete bullshit, but if so, that's kind of a bit odd. If Slacks is still around, and I don't know. It's just like if they were planning to go with 4 Danes and just Launex because like he's just that good, it's just a bit weird. I feel like I agree. We need to see them play a bit more before we can really make up a proper opinion, because it's just a bit weird right now.
Yeah. This could definitely be a phase, I think, for Slacks, where he's got to realize, like, I've got to put up some good performances here with these kind of players coming in. Like, if I'm not holding my weight, I could be on the chopping block. Obviously, Lawnix is unreal. And I think Refresh IGLing could be a really cool challenge too. And then obviously for Size1, we know what he's capable of. So a lot of good pieces. Let's see it. You know, you've got to prove it. We've seen it before that there are some really good lineups on paper. But, mate, you come into some of these online events. I mean, mate, just look at, like, Gorillas. Have a look at what that team has done in, like, the last 2 years. Like, that's just a joke, right? I think 18 months they won 1,500 in prize pool. You've got unreal players on that team. But you get tested against some of these online gods in some of these main Swisses and regional Swisses. It's a different ball game. It really is. So the results have to do the talking. Castle as well, parted ways from Masonic. I rate him quite highly as a coach. I think he's going to get snapped up pretty much tomorrow. Like, there is a lot of teams that could use someone like him, without a doubt.
I don't really understand it as well, because from what I understood, he was like a big part of the rebuild with picking up the new players after Ecstatic poached 3 of them, right? So I don't really know. Maybe it was like his final duty, and then he wasn't re-signing. I have no idea what the context is for it, but it's just a bit odd that like he's part of this rebuild and then he's just gone.
Yeah. One thing I would say, Jack, Ted is probably biting at the bit at this. Poison's contract expired with Fnatic, makes him a free agent. Are we excited for him to go anywhere?
Nope.
No.
Not at all. Man, he was muck. Oh, and Ted, I remember saying it to Ted, and he was like, "You're being too harsh. You're being too harsh." The fellow wouldn't hit a barn door with a bat. He wouldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat with the op. Like, I remember watching around. There was a smoke in front of him on Ancient, and he literally ran through in it's like a 4v1, to be fair, but he just did something so stupid. He died, gave away the op against an eco, and they ended up winning the round. And I remember looking at it and just going, oh my dear Lord. I don't know, man. I don't know where he goes from here. Might seem like I'm being a little bit harsh, but I think it's completely justified. And Ted can fight me on it any day of the week, but he's just hyping up everybody from Bulgaria. That's it, man. Like, he was telling me about Shaik as well. I was asking him, I was like, is he an opper? And he was like, yeah, no, he's opting teams. And I was just thinking, I was like, I don't think he's ever opting a team whatsoever. But that's another thing about the OG Academy thing. I think they have to make changes. I don't think we even talked about them, but I think they really need to make changes, to be honest. I think that was a massive wake-up call in their game against Spirit Academy. I think Shaik went negative 33 kills or something. When your opera is going negative the majority of the games, that's an issue. That is a massive issue, especially when I know it's up against Airfrost, but man, yeah. Bulgaria just needs a good, strong opera, and despite Ted thinking that it is Cirque, I don't think it is.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Is there going to be another top Bulgarian team, perhaps, Ryan? I mean, you've obviously got Skade. We haven't had the second one of like a Fate or a Fiend for a little while. Maybe there's a rebuild.
You're clutching at straws. I'm with Jack in this one, I think. Yeah, it's I don't know, some joke if he gets into a top 30 team, I'll tell you that now. Whether, there's a rebuild or something, maybe there is a Bulgarian team that gets made with sort of the best of the rest. I don't know, but again, you shoot for the stars. I feel like they're going to fall flat on their face, but we'll have to wait and see. I think that's unfortunately that'll be his time in Tier 1 very much done and dusted.
See what's next. And again, I think following the RMR qualifiers could be really good to carry on. We'll probably do it in the next show. But mate, even that CIS mix that made the RMR, that's unreal. What is that?
Aurora.
With Lackey and Railway?
Right? Yeah.
How did they make it?
So that's like the former NDI Ray core or whatever. So that was like an orgless mix essentially. And as far as I know, Aurora Gaming is an org. They are doing a boot camp or something like that. So it seems like they maybe got signed. So which is kind of cool. I mean, I think it's a really promising lineup in all honesty, just because Chiron was a fucking beast in Academy League, like an absolute monster. Railway's been around the block, so as an IGL, it's all right. Delusion, I think he played for VP Prodigy for a period, if I'm not mistaken, and he was all right on the op, like he showed some promise. Lackey, Sugar, right? They have a bit of experience. I don't know, with Starks at the helm as well, like this team could actually end up being pretty good. I don't know if they'll reach Entropic level or whatever, probably not, but probably could be around the same level as Force or K23 within a few months, I think.
Okay. Oh, well, I didn't know that. I thought they were just a mixed team completely. So they beat some good teams. I mean, they beat Monty, which is obviously the most difficult team to probably beat in an open qualifier. Beating Astralis and then beating Blue Jays as well. So, yeah, keep an eye out for those open quals because you always get some surprises every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta have a good watch, man. They're always a good laugh as well. Like Astralis going out early on, you know, like not laughing at Astralis. I just mean like there's so much that goes on. It's single elim, as brutal as ever. Like 100% we're gonna keep in check until the day of ice series rolls around. Where I think we're gonna have a good watch and see what's going on. Anyway, anything else that we're gonna add, or are we good to wrap up here?
Oh, I'm done.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Done.
I'm grand. Yeah.
Nice. Did the team win the game, Jack, or?
No.
Ah, right.
I'm going in to give them the hairdryer treatment after this. A good old Fergie move. I don't know what happened. We were on Dust 2. Don't know how the fuck that happened. So apparently, if you don't join the server within the first 3 minutes, it starts auto vetoing because now in main and advanced you have to do the in-server. You have to do the in-server vetoes, and apparently the prac went a little bit over. So yeah, that's gonna be a whole lot of fun. 2-2 in main on the boys, but nah, we're gonna qualify for the summer invitational. We're gonna qualify for Beyond at the weekend. So sorry.
There you go. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and obviously you two for joining us. You can follow them on Twitter, shown on screen now, would have been plastered throughout as well. Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for joining us. Until next week, though, that's us done for Tier 2 Talk. Take it easy, have a good weekend, watch the RMRs, come and join us at I-69. Until then, see you next time. Bye-bye.